It's time for Ask the Tech Guys. Hi, I'm Leo Laporte. Coming up, a conversation with the father of modern genomics, George Church, is going to tell us what he thinks of Last of Us.
And I'm Mikah Sargent, and I'm so excited to help Ant muddle his way through macOS.
Plus, brand new socks. Make sure you wash them first. It's time for Ask the Tech Guys.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is Ask the Tech Guys with Mikah Sargent and Leo Laporte. Episode 1964, recorded Sunday, March 5th, 2023. Podcast Dreamin. This episode of Ask the Tech Guys is brought to you by electric e-bikes. Discover the local area or experience the freedom of the great outdoors with fun, fast, and foldable electric e-bikes. Learn more about the Expedition Cargo e-bike and all the other sweet models Lectric has to offer by visiting lectricebikes.com. And by Fortran. The cybersecurity landscape is full of single-solution providers, making it easy for unexpected cyber threats to sneak through the cracks. That's why Fortran created a stronger, simpler strategy for protection. They are your cybersecurity ally, working to provide peace of mind for every step of your journey. Learn more at Fortran.com. Thanks for listening to this show as an ad-supported network. We are always looking for new partners with products and services that will benefit our qualified audience. Are you ready to grow your business? Reach out to advertise at twit.tv and launch your campaign now. Well, hey, how are you today? It's time for Ask the Tech Guys. I'm Tech Guy on the left. Actually, you're right. Leo Laporte on your left.
It's Mikah Sargent.
And we are here today to help you with your computerized woes. The Zoom line.
The Zoom line is open.
You suggested that we get a number, which I think is a good idea.
Yeah, we're talking about getting a number. We heard from some folks, both in email and then on the call last week, who said, hey, we've got some people who would love to call into the show, but aren't really savvy with the Zoom. So we're thinking about that. We'll let you know when and if we do.
Until then, what you do is you point your browser on, and do it on your phone because you already got a microphone and camera, right? And point your browser to call.twit.tv, that website. If you have Zoom on your phone, it'll launch it. If you don't, it'll give you a chance to do it in the web or launch the app if you want to install the app. That's probably the easiest way to call us. You can also email Ask the Tech Guys at twit.tv. And if you do that, send us a video. We didn't get any videos this week.
We do love to get those videos.
Little video. We had a fun one last week. It was all edited.
That was nice.
You don't have to do that. Just your sweet face on camera. But again, call.twit.tv. We have lots of calls. We'll go to the calls in a bit. We also have a sad and lonely Aunt Pruitt who has moved from Windows to Mac, and it's been a tough time. So you're gonna counsel him a little bit?
Yeah. There's going to be a conversation and a resolve, hopefully. I'd love to see that.
I will be in the peanut gallery over here, so I'll shout. Try that! If I see anything.
Do this!
Do this!
Push that button!
We also have a very exciting interview I did on Friday with the father of modern genomics.
Oh, my.
Dr. George Church is a professor at Harvard Medical School and MIT, but probably better known as one of the people who helped sequence the human genome, started the Personal Genome Project. He's working on some amazing things, including bringing, introducing mastodon genes to elephants to make them cold resistant so they can live in Siberia and help with global warming. He tells that story. A lot of interesting stuff, but I did have to ask him, because he's an expert in all this, about The Last of Us, the TV show. So I'll get his take
We'll get to that.
on the cordyceps fungus and how much of a threat it might be to humanity. In a little bit, we're also going to take your calls. So let's see. Let me see. I like to do this, and you could do this too with me, Michael. Micah, follow along in the prayer book. But it's time for our Sunday sermon.
Oh, I'm excited, Leo.
Sunday sermon.
Amen.
And I'm just looking through. I forgot I had something I really wanted to talk about. Well, one thing, got a text from my mama.
Oh.
A couple of days ago. She said, I got this invoice from the Geek Squad at Best Buy for $400. I didn't pay them. I should call them, right? And I said, Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be DJs. No, I didn't say that. I said, Mama, look at the email address that's coming from. Look at the link that it's bringing you to. Is any of that having to do with the,
Geek Squad,
Geek
or Best
Squad
Buy,
or Best Buy? And it was some like long, Kazanzaka74@gmail.com. I said, you think Best Buy would use that email address to send you a bill? So I did a little instructional. But I think more and more we're seeing these.
Yeah.
I got a text the other day said, hey, it was a great round of golf last week. You want to do it again? I don't play golf. I don't play golf.
That wasn't me.
So why is that a scam, you might ask?
Yeah.
Because then I'm supposed to call the guy and say, or text him back. Oh, yes, I don't play golf. You got the wrong number. And the guy says, oh, shoot. Well, I'm sorry. What's your name? And I said, well, it's Leo. What's your name? He says, it's Joe. And we talk. We get to know each other. We're good friends. And he says, I've been making a lot of money in cryptocurrency lately. You think you'd be interested in investing? And at that point, you should stop the conversation.
Absolutely. Don't even text back in the first place if you can help it, because I did the same thing, and it was some gal who started sending photos and trying to make this connection. It didn't happen. And I've been getting lately a whole lot of scams, especially via text message, related to Amazon. Those have been the most recent ones.
Yeah, that's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, I got 2 just the other day. Oh, your Amazon account has been frozen. We're waiting for this bill to be paid.
That's the key on that, by the way. They will say things that get you scared.
To immediately react.
So that you react. And they'll say things like, in fact, who was it? I saw it on Mastodon. He said, Pete, I got a call from Pacific Gas and Electric, our electric company, saying they were going to turn off the power in an hour if I didn't pay the bill.
Wow.
If you give us a credit card number and pay right now, we'll be okay. That's designed to scare the heck out of you.
Yeah.
Right? And that would scare you. And as somebody who's had both the water and power turned off in my youth, it's legit.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want that to happen. And getting it turned on is a pain and all that stuff. So that's a smart scam. Don't fall for it.
It's always this desire to drag you. I mean, the one we talked about, the text messaging back and forth, that's a different kind of attack. But a lot that you see pretty regularly are all about that fear that just leads you to react as quickly as possible.
Oh, I know who it was.
Then you catch up.
It was Rich DeMuro.
Oh,
our counterpart on the radio on Saturdays. He hosts the show I used to host, and Rich on Tech, and he tweeted, I guess I should call him, right? Get the power turned back on. We don't want to miss the show. It was right before the show too.
Wow.
It was as if they knew. One other thing I wanted to mention, you may remember a few weeks ago, Elon Musk, somewhat brusquely, somewhat rudely turned off what they call the API on Twitter, the ability for third-party non-Twitter apps to access Twitter. Completely his right, and probably the right thing to do, because when you use third-party apps, you don't see all the ads. It really takes money out of the pockets of Twitter. So he turned it off, but he didn't tell him ahead of time. He didn't admit to it for the longest time. And when then they finally said, "Oh yeah, we did that because you broke the rules," that was a lie. Then they retroactively changed the rules to make, here's how you should do something like that. You announce it a month ahead of time. You say, look, we got to monetize. We're going to turn off third-party API. And companies like Tapbots, which makes the fabulous Tweetbot, the Icon Factory, which makes Twitterific, but they got stuck with their pants down. And now, and this is why it comes up, we're about a month in, a number of people are starting to get a notice saying, do you want a refund?
What?
If you had either of those apps installed, Apple's policy is once the product stops working, that you get a refund because a lot of people would pay not just the month, but for the year.
Yeah.
I paid for the year. So you get a notice saying, would you want your money back? Please, if you can afford it, don't do that. These are small companies. The Icon Factory, number one product is Twitterific. There are thousands and thousands of customers for both Tapbot's Tweetbot and the Icon Factory's Twitterific who could ask for their money back and effectively bankrupt these companies. So when you see that message, say no.
That is goosebumps territory.
If you want, you can transfer your TapBots subscription over to Ivory because they're making one for Mastodon. And if you're watching this show, you're invited to join our Mastodon, which is twit.social, free to join. And then, you could point your Ivory application over there, and it's a very nice application. But this is a big story, and both companies put up little posters. I think I have one here saying, please don't do it. So you've probably seen those, but now you know why you don't want to, if you can, get that refund. Now, I understand you need the money back. Okay, fine. But here's the can you see my screen? There it is. There's the Twitterific. This is from John Gruber's DaringFireball.net. Here's the Twitterific notice. And you see, they have to give you the button. Apple requires it. It says, I want my money back. Here's the TweetBot notice. And you can say, transfer my remaining subscription time for TweetBot to Ivory. That would be the preference. I'm happy with what I got out of TweetBot, and I do not need a refund. Or, sad to say, the third option, give me my money. I want a by the way, notice it's grayed out. I want a prorated refund. And they have to do that in order to stay in Apple's good graces, which they obviously want to do. So just a little tip to all of you. Be nice. Be a nice person. And don't cancel your subscription. I actually gave them more money because those are good guys. We know them. You've talked to them.
Yes, absolutely.
Tech News Weekly.
We talked on Tech News Weekly, and I've talked to them working at iMore in the past. Both of those teams are honestly just small teams who are making these apps that were the forefront of the income that they were making.
And the richest man in the world, he's richest man in the world again.
Oh, congrats.
Richest man in the world decided he needed the money and just cut him off like that. Apple News, Mark Gurman, who is the smartest man in the world, at least the best connected, says Apple is now working on not only a 15-inch MacBook Air for before June, but they're working, everybody wanted to know, when is the new iMac coming out? They're working on a new iMac for later this year.
An iMac.
And an iPad. And it's possible all three and a 13-inch MacBook Air will come with the M3 chip.
Ooh, M3.
In which case, I will buy it.
Yeah.
I have the M2. You have the M2. You're using the M2 right now, MacBook Air. But would you like a 15-inch?
No. I love this thing. Exactly how it is.
No bigger.
Yeah.
This big and no bigger. All right. Well, watch with interest. Those are rumors. But, I like to keep you up to date if you're about to go into the market and buy. Shall we do our first calls?
Let's do our first calls.
All right. I see David has his hand raised. And we're gonna pick on David right now. I'm gonna send him to the magic room, and he shall appear in the Ask the Tech Guys Stargate in moments.
In mere moments.
What's that?
It's a package we got.
I got another package I should get out of my office. Go ahead.
This is from Pelham Warehouse, and
Pelham
it says,
Warehouse.
may contain traces of awesome. It's to Leo and Mikah at TWiT.
Okay, before you open it, what's your guess?
Let's see.
Squishy, right? Is it a bean bag?
It's feeling like some sort of stickers.
Do you feel beans?
I don't feel beans. It feels papery.
Oh, it doesn't feel like beans.
No.
I thought it might be coffee. I was getting excited.
Oh.
All right, well, let's give somebody a free ad then.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah, now we got David C. in the on-air room. Hi, David. Sorry about that. Dignation. Oh, what's that?
Dear Leo and Mikah, what's up, my favorite tech gurus? It's your number 3 fan here, and before you start feeling sorry for me, just remember that Wendy's is number 3 in the fast food game, and they're doing just fine. I'm loving the new format of your show.
Where does it get number 3?
I know, right? The new format of your show, but I have to say, Leo, those socks you've been wearing are about as exciting as a dial-up connection.
Yours are much better this week.
Lucky for you, I've got a solution.
Oh, are they socks?
Micah, brace yourself because I made you some custom Leo socks that are going to knock your socks off. And Leo, don't feel left out because I made some socks with the face of your best friend, Steve Martin, on them.
What? So this person's a sock maker?
Sock maker, make me some socks. All right. I'm not going to read the rest of that because it's really long, but...
We would not have guessed socks.
No, we would not. Oh, Pink Panther. So here are Leo's Steve Martin socks.
These are mine because it's got Steve Steve on. I'm definitely going to wear these.
And here are my
Wow, these are great.
Leo Laporte socks.
Oh my God. How do you make these?
These are really well designed, frankly.
These I think they're going to go all the way up to my thigh, though. They're somewhat long.
Oh, my word.
Thank you very much.
Number 3. That's all it says.
Just number 3.
Our
Number
number 3 fan.
Well, I don't think we should change socks right now.
No, I want to wash them first.
Save us for you wash.
I always
brand new.
Everything I know.
You wash socks before you wear them?
Yeah, my mom used to work in clothing, and I learned some things. Always wash before you wear.
Really?
She once saw someone get a horrible spider bite from the clothing because it had just shipped in the craters, in the crates.
Yikes.
Freaked me out. Anyway,
okay.
Socks.
Wash
them.
There might be spiders in them.
There could be spiders.
Thank you, number 3. Hey, David, show us your shirt. Stand up a little bit just so we can see.
Dignation,
baby. Greatest podcast of all time with Kevin Rose and Alex Albrecht. They would sit just like we're sitting, but they'd be drinking beer and talking about the top stories from the website some remember called Dig. That was a huge show. In fact, I think it almost killed Revision 3 when they decided to retire. It was like all over. Well, that's great. It's good to have a long-time Kevin Rose fan on the show.
A long-time Leo fan.
Well, Kevin and I are buddies.
Foremost.
Yeah.
And in fact, I went to Petaluma back in 2013, and you recommended a beautiful place to visit in Napa. Solage.
Oh, did you go?
And we went and we had a great time. It was really nice. Really appreciate that.
Oh, nice.
And Mikah, you're doing a great job. You guys are fantastic. Really appreciate what you do. My question is basically has to do with Google Takeout.
Okay.
And, it's a very large file, and trying to back up my photos, which are all basically there, and downloading them has been a problem. I mean, a lot of stalled downloads, how big to break up the individual zip files. I tried rclone for a while. I was wondering if you guys had any techniques or suggestions about how to successfully download from Google Takeout.
So it's praise to Google for doing that. That was Brian Fitzpatrick, who worked at Google, said, you don't want to make your business a roach motel where you can get in but you can't get out. And so they created Google Takeout as a result. But I wonder how much of Google's heart was in it, because instead of just getting your files in a way you can use, and I guess it's because it would be a giant file, they zip it up into 2 gigabyte files. What were you taking out? That's the first question.
I mean, primarily photos,
okay.
But I was trying to get, you start getting the option to check boxes.
You can do everything.
You start checking a like boxes. Yep. And then I started minimizing it, but still the photos, it was, 100 gigabytes or something like that.
I've done more than that out of photos. I've done almost a terabyte out of Takeout.
Sure.
So I have a good story to tell about how you do this. You're going to unzip them, and then you're going to get folders from it. Now, so there's a couple of things to know. The photos will be in the original photo format, so you're not going to have some weird format you have to decode. They'll be JPEGs. But there will be additional material, index material, metadata material, and that will be, usually it's in an XML format, possibly a JSON format, but I think, as I remember, it was all XML. I just threw that out. I said, fine. Just get me the photos. That's the thing. But then the photos have weird names. They don't have the names you gave them, and they certainly don't have informative names. So now you've got to do something with the names. And what I ended up doing is downloading a couple of useful tools, and I did this on a Mac. Are you on a Mac or Windows?
Windows.
Okay.
Actually, my problem is actually getting the file successfully downloaded.
Oh.
Like it'll run for 3 days, but I'll get errors. Mm-hmm. And my ISP is fine. I can download lots of
that's
programs.
Weird.
So that's why I ended up using rclone. Mm-hmm. Seemed to be successful in not timing out.
And you were able to get the full file with that, or all the files with that?
I did, but I have like an old laptop, which I have Linux running on it. It's like my R clone machine, and I just have it running for days. But
so rclone, which I use and I love, allows you to basically turn everything into Dropbox, kind of like Google Drive, whatever cloud stuff you've got, and you can actually merge it all together. So that's nice. It's the Swiss. They call it the Swiss Army knife of cloud storage. So good. That was good thinking. It's lucky you had a Linux machine to do that on. That's why, by the way, that's Google's answer to why. Well, here's why we divide it up.
Yeah.
You can't download a 100 gigabyte file, but you were trying to download 2 gigabyte files at a time, or were you trying to download a 100 gigabyte file?
I was trying different sizes.
Yeah.
And some of if you have a video which is bigger than 2 gigabytes,
Right.
you're just going to download the video itself.
Right.
Basically.
Right. I blame your ISP, to be honest.
Yes,
with you.
that's what it does. I mean, even though you said you have no issues, these files should be downloading.
You download files that size all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
I do.
And frankly, we're doing it all the time whenever we're streaming media and looking at different stuff. I will tell you that the one way that I've always done Google Takeout, so I at least know that this has worked for me, is I actually do use Dropbox with it. And then it happens on their side of things. And so they can talk to each other without even involving my ISP.
So you could tell Google Takeout, I don't want to download it, just transfer
send
it
it
to
to my
Dropbox.
Dropbox.
And now
Right. I ended up, because I was getting, nervous about not successfully having a backup, I ended up using Dropbox, but that you have to pay for.
Right. Yes, this is true. Yeah, and I use
So
Dropbox
that's
for a
like
lot of things. So
That's like $100 a year to increase the storage.
Well, you could use it temporarily, right?
and then download it from
And then download it
Dropbox.
from
Yeah.
Dropbox.
I really
If it's Google's, it's a
ISP,
problem.
yeah.
I have to think it's your ISP because I don't.
Okay. I mean, it's the big one, Xfinity.
Comcast sucks.
Yes,
But
sucks.
I've used Comcast to do this exact thing at home.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I don't know
Maybe
what's
I'll
going
contact
on.
them.
Do you think here's a weird possibility, but I'll give you this as well. Routers can overheat with continuous transfers. And if you have an older router, or a router that's not well cooled, or just a router that's susceptible to overheating, it could be failing. And then the packets slow way down and the computer gets upset and blah, blah, blah. So I would also make sure what are you using for a router? Not the one that they gave you, I hope.
I think I have an Orbi router.
Orbi's good.
I just had another thought too. Are you doing this on a PC or a laptop, like a connected computer or a laptop?
It was a Wi-Fi connected laptop.
Okay, that's another issue.
Battery saver stuff. If the screen is going dark, sometimes, depending on what your settings are, it can throttle the connection. It can completely shut off the connection. So you would want to have essentially a mouse jiggler kind of thing, keeping it alive. Yeah, caffeine for the Mac, but I don't know if they have it for Windows.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and you'd probably want to use Ethernet at least for this one time.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me something to work on.
Yeah, Wi-Fi. So remember in the old days, you wouldn't remember this. You're way too young, but you might, David. In the old days, we would have things like Z modem, protocols designed for bad connections that could resume. They would keep track of where you were. And all of that was because back in the dial-up day, you could be pretty sure your mom was going to pick up the phone in the middle of that download. So Z modem and other technologies were there to solve that problem. And I think one of the reasons our clone might be working better is because it has that kind of stuff built into it.
Right.
Yeah, it may just be, and Wi-Fi is going to make that worse because Wi-Fi is a collision-based network. It'll pause when another Wi-Fi signal is seen and stuff like that. So I would definitely look at that. And then a good suggestion from Joe, who's consistently good on this stuff. Check for packet loss. You might do this at Cloudflare, speed.cloudflare.com. There are lots of places you can check for packet loss.
Okay.
The Cloudflare one's very good, speed.cloudflare.com.
Okay.
Something's going on that your computer is saying, I don't think I got it.
Where was I again?
I don't think I got it, man. I don't got it. And so you want to, that's why these resumable protocols are useful still, even in this day and age, especially with Wi-Fi. You want to make sure you're not losing packets. There are a bunch of things you want to look into. Now, once you get all those files, then call back and we'll talk about, I have some programs, because what happened was I ended up running a bunch of programs to fix the dates, because the dates all become the date that you downloaded it. So I fixed the date so that the same date is on the EXIF. If you're using cameras that store that kind of information in the file itself, which I was, and I bet you are, phones all do it. Then you know the capture date, and you can change the file date to the capture date. And I used a mass batch renaming program that would take the junky file name Google had given it, which is basically a numeric name, and turn it into, something reasonable like the date of the capture. And if you have information in your EXIF about where it was captured, you could maybe even do that. So there's some really good tools for doing that, Windows and Mac. And so when you get it, call back and we'll tell you how to process it. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
You guys are great.
Knife. Ant, throw me that knife that you got.
Oh God,
hip.
throw.
Just throw it at me.
Nope.
I'll catch it. No, because I got to get this box. Do we have anything I can open this box with?
I've got.
You got a knife?
Yes.
Great to talk to you, David. Thank you. Call.twit.tv. We'll take some more calls in a bit. I'm going to open this box, and then we're going to talk about our sponsor. We got a great spot. Oh, look, it's the cutest little knife.
It's a cute little knife.
You couldn't hurt anybody with this knife. It's little.
You want to bet?
Did you watch Chris Rock last night on Netflix?
No.
Okay.
No, Burke, my knife is cooler.
His knife is way cooler. Does the TSA let you through with this?
I don't know. I don't fly, really.
Oh.
So I don't know.
I don't go anywhere, so I used to carry a multi-tool in my bag, but then I thought, well, I'm going to... Because what happens if the TSA finds it, they just take it.
Yeah.
Say, oh, that's nice. I'll keep that.
Oh, I like that.
I'll keep that. So I didn't want to lose this beautiful multi-tool. I wouldn't, if I were you, I wouldn't want to lose this. This comes to us from Jeff Kirk, who was on the show.
Oh, that's right.
A little while ago. Okay, you can have your little knife.
On the show a little while ago.
Oh, it's locking.
It is
There
locking.
you go. Oh, so cute. Look at that. Goes right on your keychain. If you ever have to go to court, take it off.
Absolutely.
Take it off. They don't let knives in court either. I didn't. Maybe
I don't have any plans to go to court.
You're not going. Yeah, nobody does. Nobody plans on it. Court happens. All right. This is well wrapped.
That's good.
This is well
wrapped.
Take 'em. Oh, look at this. Here's a book. So we were talking. Remember we were talking about Zeppelins?
Yep.
And we were talking, and Jeff says, well, I have a whole series of science fiction books based on. I think this is the Zeppelin one. Well, wait a minute. Maybe I'm wrong on this. First science fiction novel, The Prometheus Option. Oh, they're all autographed. These books get pretty apocalyptic, and the body count is not small. If it were a movie, or better yet, a big budget HBO miniseries, The Prometheus Option would be plastered with parental advisory stickers. Oh, that's nice. That's really nice. He says, thank you. And through you, Daniel Suarez, for inspiring me to get off my duff and crank this out. So this is not the Zeppelin books I thought it was going to be. This is another one. And for Andy Nacco for suggesting Scrivener on MacBreak Weekly. Yeah, Andy uses that for his writing. He says, I wrote the Prometheus Option in Microsoft Word, Jeff says. You've never heard more swearing than when it decided to make a single paragraph italic. I must therefore want every... Oh, he did... Oh, I get it. Jeff made a paragraph italic, and Word said, well, you must want them all that way. With 220,000 plus words in the manuscript, the undo function didn't work. Pretty sure my dome is Chrome now because of that experience. In case you're interested, now working on a new 5-book series tentatively entitled The Starway Cycle. First book is done, and I'm just starting my search for an agent. Hey, that's great. Congratulations to Geezer Nerd.
Yeah.
Jeff Kirk. Here's your autographed copy.
Beautiful.
And I have one for you, autographed copy. John Ashley, I got one for you, autographed copy.
Oh, yeah, you can go that way.
And for you, and look under your seats, everybody at home.
You get a book.
You get a book. You get a book. That's great. I can't wait. I hope the body cut. I like that. I want apocalyptic. Yeah. Oh, here, John Ashley. Stick your hand in the screen there. There you go. There you go. Very nice. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Hey, our show today, we had some fun the other day, didn't we? You and me. Riding around on our electric e-bike. Now, you think when I say electric, I'm mispronouncing it.
Oh, no, buddy.
It's not electric. Well, it is electric.
It's electric.
But it's called electric e-bikes. Our show today brought to you by electric e-bikes. You might think an e-bike isn't the smartest way to transport something. Well, think again. I'll tell you what. I love my electric e-bikes. Look, I had an important mission. I had many boxes I had to deliver to a place unknown. What did I do? I strapped it onto the Expedition Cargo e-bike, Now, one of the things they do with this e-bike, besides the long bed in the back, suitable for, there are many attachments, but you could just also do what I did, which is probably not what you should do, which is just strap the boxes in. But it has extra torque in the engine. I was able to get, even with a heavy load, you're able to get up as much as 450 pounds on that back. It'd be great for that real expedition. Whoop, watch out, Leo. You're going to, no, that box looks a little low. Never mind. I didn't need that one. So this is so much fun. It's a bike designed to make taking cargo easier. If I were going to, for instance, and I might even do this because this bike is so much fun, bicycle across the United States, you got to bring your stuff with you, right? Mm-hmm. You know, I would bring this bike. It's designed for all that cargo, no matter what you're packing, even an extra passenger. Whoops, Burke. Oh, Burke. He dropped it all. 450-pound carrying capacity. You can reach up to 150 miles on a single charge because it has not one but two batteries. Perfect for carrying passengers, including the kids. This is another electric bike I'm showing you here. This is one I really like, too, because it folds up. So now I can go to the park. I can go to the mountains. I can go somewhere where I really want to go biking, and I could throw the bike in the back of my car, unfold it, and it's ready to go. Adjust the seat. It's got electric lights front and back, powered by the removable battery. A really nice, bright LCD display. 7-speed gearing. 5 levels of pedal assist to allow you to ride. Plus, you can lower your gas costs, reduce your carbon footprint. And I can tell you, as a longtime lover of electric bikes, the throttle on these is great. Because when you come to a stoplight and you got 450 pounds of cargo, you don't want to have to step and slowly pedal your way forward. So you use the throttle and you just leap forward. It's really fantastic. There's a full line of accessible bikes, from electric e-bikes, from quick store trips to outdoor adventures. Electric, Lectric e-bikes will transform how you get around. They cost a lot less, by the way. Yeah. You can spend a lot of money on an e-bike, but these are very affordable with quality, feature-packed models, and you get financing as low as $133 a month. That's a lot less than buying a car. And with this, I tell you what, with this expedition, you can go to the store, you can bring home a sofa. You're set. This thing is amazing. It's amazing. Make it your own. Electric e-bikes are customizable, adjustable to fit your lifestyle. They have foldable bikes. They ship free, and they come fully assembled. You just unfold them, set them up, and you're there. Join more than 250,000 dedicated riders on the road so far. We love our electric e-bikes, and check out that new Expedition Cargo e-bike from Electric. Visit lectricebikes.com. You'll learn more about the Expedition Cargo e-bike and all the other sweet models like that folding model. The Expedition, you can see you put a kit on it, right? And they have all the sorts of little
so
attachments
thing
that you can put on that back bed there. It's kind of like a pickup truck bike, really.
It is, yeah.
I love it. And man, it has such good torque.
It goes.
You actually, if you're unloaded, you got to remember that when you start it, because you can peel out in that thing. I love electric bikes from Electric. That's Lectric, ebikes.com. Lectricebikes.com. If you've never ridden an e-bike, had you ever ridden one before?
No, that was my first time.
Isn't that great?
It was so much fun.
You get to what you would normally when you're riding a bike, you get to a big hill. Like there's a hill there's a park here I love to ride. But the first thing you do is go straight up. And so I'm always exhausted by the time I get to the rest of the park. I'm going, you go on an electric bike. You still pedal because it's pedal assist. But you put it in first gear because you got 7 gears. And you go up the hill. You feel, it's so much fun. And by the way, research studies show, people sometimes mock me for my electric bike. They say, come on, Leo, you're not really biking. Studies show you get like 99%, maybe 90% of the exercise you would get if you didn't have the engine.
Oh, wow.
It just helps you on those tough hills. I love it. Anybody who's got bad knees or just, doesn't want to pedal around, this is a brand new way of riding. And I've always loved my bicycles. Get your electric e-bike at lectricebikes.com. All right. Now, do you think the buttons will work now? Should I try?
Fingers crossed.
Shall we go to John? Send to the breakout room, John. Hello, John.
I have an iOS question and a couple of Bitwarden questions. So let me do the iOS one first.
All right.
I would like to get a shortcut. So with one click, I could set my screen lock to never, and then another click to set it back to what it was.
Yes. Okay. This is something that I too would like, but is not yet possible with shortcuts. The closest that I've been able to come, it's a shortcut that I use quite literally every week, is a shortcut that will take you directly to the screen where you choose the never or 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, etc. And then you have to choose manually. And then after I'm doing whatever I'm doing, I can pop back in there. So it's basically a shortcut to that settings page, but that's the most that Shortcuts does right now. Unfortunately, Apple has not made that accessible via Shortcuts. And I have a hankering that has to do with the security of the potential loss of security there.
How could I get that?
Well, what I'm going to do is I am going to share the link to that shortcut with our producer. And then our producer is going to put that link on our website, and you'll be able to get that link and then get that shortcut added directly to your phone.
Okay, in other words, I asked the tech guys
it's you can just go twit.tv/askthetechguys.
Or ATG if you want the short version. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
ATG. I didn't put the in.
Oh, okay.
Just ATG.
So now my other question is about Bitwarden. I called a while ago about Bitwarden CLI.
Yeah.
Did you ever?
I never did. I'm sorry, John. I meant to do that. I told you I was going to do that. I know. I even got home and I thought, I should do the CLI, and then something distracted me. We're talking about the command line version of Bitwarden.
That's right. I remember talking to you.
And John wasn't working with your screen reader. Is that what it was? Or it just wasn't working?
Not necessarily a screen reader, but it's just crazily complicated and ridiculous to use.
Yeah.
You have to.
That's a command line for you.
You have to use JQ. And
that's right. Yeah.
It was a whole crazy.
Yeah.
Whole crazy thing.
Honestly, if you want a command line password manager, there are probably better choices out there like KeePass XC.
No, but I can't use that because I need something that goes to iOS.
Right. Right.
So that's but I use Linux a lot, so I've learned how to kind of deal with it, but it's a mess. I mean,
how is accessibility on Bitwarden, the graphical version on the iPhone and things?
Well,
like
it's fair. You have to kind of it's kind of a mess. It has some unlabeled buttons, and you have to pop out the window. And in fact, one of the things I was trying to find is the place I haven't decided to change it to Argon. But I can't find where to do it.
Yeah, that's so I've done it now. We talked about it last week.
I went to security, but it just has the.
I think you need the desktop application, not the.
Yeah.
Not the. You can't do it in the.
You can't do it in the extension.
In the extension, and furthermore, you probably shouldn't do it yet, because one of the things that bit me was the Linux extension for Firefox, at least, is not yet at 2023.2.
2.3.
Needs to be 0.2, yeah. 2023.1 is the current version for Linux.
I can't get the Linux one to work anyway.
So there. Yeah, I did make the change. If it logs you out of everything, you have to log in back again for everything. But once you've got it.
Where is it in the app?
I will I guess I can show you. Yes. Can I show you? Let me see.
Well, you'll have to tell me.
I'll have to tell you because I can't show you. So you're going to open the app. And then you're going to go to the settings for the app, which is up in where your
it's in the file menu.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's hidden away. You're going to
it's in the file.
Yeah,
it's in the file.
In the file menu.
Yeah.
Yep. You're going to go. Yeah,
okay.
You know it better than I do because you have to navigate this darn thing. And then
that's right.
And then once you go to security, there's tabs, and I don't know how well this is going to work with a screen reader. But there's three tabs, and the last tab is the Keys tab. Once you get to the Keys tab, which is the third tab.
Within security.
Within security, there's three tabs. The third tab is the Keys tab, and that's the one where you can choose the key derivative function. And the reason we're talking about this is most password managers use PBKDF2. That's kind of the default. But recently, LastPass was updated because it's open source to support Argon 2, which is a better key derivative function. It's less brute forceable. I got to tell you this, though, and I should have said it to everybody. I probably should have said it last week. All of this is dependent on you not having a good password. If you have a good, long, strong master password, you don't have to worry so much about what key derivative function.
Yeah.
As long as it's salted.
I'm just paranoid, you know me.
Yeah, it's fun, and it's worth doing. I agree with you. And I did it, and I did it for you because now I can't use Bitwarden in Linux until they update the Mozilla.
Well, now, but do you have to do it? There's no place to do it in the extension.
No,
you
can't do it in the extension. And I think that's a security feature. You do those really hardcore security settings. You all do all of them in the app. Yeah.
Okay, so the extension doesn't have that security feature.
You have to open the app, go to settings, go to security, third tab in as keys.
And what about in iOS? I have the correct version. Do I have to do anything in it?
No, it'll happen automatically. You only do it in your. Actually, I'm wondering if you even do it in the app. You might have to. It might be better to log into Bitwarden on the web and do it there. Come to think of it, I think that's what I did. Sorry, I gave you the wrong answer. Log into Bitwarden on the web and go to the settings there. Security, third tab, and that changes it, and that's going to change it for every client, right? That's the main.
Oh, is that right?
That's headquarters.
Oh.
HQ.
Headquarters, yeah.
You go to HQ and fix it there. Okay, John.
I didn't know there was a difference. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think they reserve those settings. LastPass used to do that too. You reserve those settings for the most secure environment you can have.
Wow.
And the truth is, and we should probably mention this. The truth is, when you're talking about browser extensions, those are done in JavaScript, and they're not quite as good as they're not quite as secure. There's a potential for code injection and so forth. Hey, appreciate it. Thank you so much, John. Thank you for joining us. I'm gonna move you if I can. Nothing's working. I can't move you. Can't do anything. I'm just gonna have to say goodbye.
Bye-bye. The studio's telling me we can talk to Carl. And Carl has...
Let's go to Rice Control and Carl.
On air.
Hello, Carl.
Leo, can you actually hear me?
I can hear you. Are you in the office, Carl?
Oh, my gosh. That's one of my classrooms. So, Leo, this is such a blessing to be able to speak with you. I was able to get through to you once on the radio, and I explained to you that you have allowed an octogenarian Fortran program from the Apollo project.
I remember now, yes.
You allowed me, the TWiT network has allowed me to reinvent myself
so great.
As an octogenarian community college instructor.
Carl, you fooled me because you don't look like an octogenarian. You look great, dude. You're obviously leading a clean and healthy life.
Now it's lower blepharoplasty, ridectomy.
Okay, well, the face work is fantastic. Congratulate your plastic surgeon.
And it helps a lot in class to be wearing a mask.
Yes.
So anyway, Leo, I have a few comments for you that I think might in some way be helpful for TWiT, and I have a couple of other comments. But first, I am blatantly asking you I just tried sending this to you in chat. You cannot chat with everyone during this meeting. Okay. So maybe when I get out, Leo, I don't know if this is appropriate. I was hoping to get the TWiT army on this.
Okay.
I have a GoFundMe campaign. My 22-year-old granddaughter died of cancer 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And
that's
I've set up a GoFundMe campaign for my son's family. It's kind of devastating to lose a 20-year-old.
No kidding. And
so
they
anyway,
they have medical bills that they have to cover,
or funeral expenses and so on.
Yeah.
I was trying to paste the GoFundMe link in chat, but it isn't taking.
Just tell me what to search for, because usually that's how we do it.
Okay, well, let me see. GoFundMe has, let me open up GoFundMe page over here. You know, they give you this really weird URL.
Yeah, so I don't need the URL. If you give me the
title,
the title.
of the GoFundMe.
Yeah, that's all I need.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the title. And as soon as, do you remember you used to sponsor DSL Extreme?
Oh, Lord.
As soon as DSL Extreme, as soon as DSL Extreme gives me the title of my GoFundMe campaign is "My Granddaughter Died of Cancer."
Oh, God, that's the saddest thing I ever heard.
So
Oh, there it is. Yep.
I see it. First thing I find when I type my granddaughter in. And a beautiful picture of you and your beautiful granddaughter, and that's so
Leo,
sad.
Leo, don't talk about it anymore, please, because it's really hard.
I bet it's very hard.
So,
but the good here, I'll tell you something happy. You're getting really close to your goal, and if we get a few people just kick in a couple of bucks, you will get it all. So that's great.
Let me just tell you a few things, Leo. That's been a burden on my heart. TWiT has been so valuable for me, but I'm just not into all of the groupies who hang out on TWiT. So I want to tell you how I use
You mean Club TWiT? Is that what you're talking about? The groupies on Club TWiT?
I want to tell you, Leo, how I use TWiT because that might be insightful.
Okay.
So then when I get back to my office, or maybe I'm school or whatever, my go-to place is live.tv.twit.
Love it.
Because I know that no matter what comes up, it's going to be interesting and I'm going to learn something. So, for example, a few weeks ago, I just turned on TWiT and there was Steve Gibson. And he was talking about how on a new Intel processor, I believe there was a new strategy for increasing performance that involved variable execution time of instructions based on the operand or the data that the instruction was using.
Yeah.
Now, I have been programming back in the day Intel processors since the 1975 when I started programming 8008. And it never occurred to me that anyone ever think of giving variable execution time to instructions based on the data they were using. So I learned in that 15 minutes that I was listening to TWiT, I learned something that I never knew that occupied my brain for like most of the rest of the day.
Isn't that cool?
I kind of ruminated on it.
I think a lot of people listen to security now for that very reason, because they hear stuff and they go, whoa.
Yep.
I never thought of that.
I never thought of that.
Yesterday, and just yesterday, Paul Thurrott, again, it was another 15-minute encounter. But yesterday, Paul Thurrott mentioned, what was it, LLVMs, low-level virtual machines.
Yeah.
You guys were talking about some of the various languages that were being hosted on different environments.
Yeah.
15 minutes, I learned something. I ruminated on it. Boy, it's like you guys are awesome.
Good.
So I want to share that with you.
Thank you.
You're no longer on the radio, so I'm not sure how much of an Overton window that you have.
I have zero over. I don't know if I had much when I was on the radio. He's talking about shifting the conversation.
Oh, okay.
There are two things that I wanted to shove into your Overton window.
Okay.
Number one is we're coming close to changing that clock again.
Yes.
For spring.
I hate that. Don't you hate that?
Why in the United States are we not talking about permanently shifting the time a half hour ahead or a half hour back, as in India?
I think the bill is still just waiting that we had to make that choice.
The bill is not talking about a half hour time shift.
Oh, a half hour.
Why half an hour?
That's interesting.
Because it addresses both of the disadvantages of being too early and being too late, and it gives you a happy medium that seems to satisfy 1.3 billion Indians. something for you to ruminate on, Leo.
Interesting.
30 minutes. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if I really like that idea, to be honest with you.
I kind of like this. Nobody gets what they want.
Nobody seems to like any of the ideas. The next comment I had for your Overton window was, from time to time, you're bringing up the dangers of artificial intelligence. And do you recall a number of years ago, who was it? A number of luminaries had written an open letter warning about the dangers of artificial intelligence. Do you have any? It was Stephen Hawking and a number of other people.
Yeah.
So I teach this in my computer information management class for the past 10 years. And I've been saying the same thing for the past 10 years, that we Homo sapiens should be embracing these creations of ours because they are our next leap in evolution. We are on the cusp of evolving from carbon-based life forms to silicon-based.
Do you really
life
think
forms.
that? Do you think that's what's happening? This is the
I
next
do.
stage of evolution.
Oh, unquestionably, Lee.
Wow.
And, back in the day, I don't think a couple of amoeba ever got together and hanging out and said, hey, guys, do you realize we're going to be moving on? We're going to be evolving to multicellular organisms. That probably didn't happen. We should be embracing. Hey, Leo, look at the news sometime. Are Homo sapiens the end all?
We might need some help, is what you're saying.
Well, I'm saying we're not the end of the line.
No.
We're not the end of the line.
We might be the end of the line for Homo sapiens, however. Carl, I can see why you're such a great teacher, and I really appreciate your insight. And did you ever think you would live long enough to see this amazing transformation of society?
The first job that I had as a Fortran programmer on the Apollo project, I had a milestone salary, which was $10,000 a year.
Wow.
That salary was 1% the cost of the computer I was programming.
Wow.
Today, the cost of the computer is 1% the cost of the program.
Isn't that a shift?
And
Isn't that an interesting shift?
That dynamic has driven all of software development, bringing us up to object-oriented programming. That's it, Leo. God bless you.
Now the machines are going to be doing it, and they'll be 1% of their own cost.
Yeah, exactly.
What a pleasure to talk to you, Carl.
Really great.
GoFundMe, search for my granddaughter, and you'll find him. And I just kicked in a little bit, and I have a feeling that our groupies will. So thank you,
Our groupies will.
A real pleasure talking to you.
God bless the groupies. Thank you.
Take care. They're groupies in a good way.
Yeah, I want a shirt that says that now. God bless the groupies.
God bless the groupies, as if we don't call them groupies, we call them club members, and we are so grateful to our club members who make this show and all the shows we do possible. They keep the lights on. It's expensive to do what we do, but you help us immensely with a small contribution, just $7 a month, and you're helping keep TWiT on the air, helping us launch new shows like Mikah's Hands on Macintosh, which is excellent, Hands on Windows with Paul Thurrott, our Untitled Linux show. These are all shows that are only in the club right now. We've got some great club events coming up thanks to our game master, our club master, Aunt Pruitt. Some really fun events coming up. So if you could find your way to kicking up just $7 a month, $84 a year to help us do what we do, we would sure appreciate it. And we thank all the club members who've done that. All you have to do is go to twit.tv/clubtwit. And I thank you in advance. We were talking about the world changing. Mm-hmm. Have you watched The Last of Us? I got you to watch it, didn't I?
No,
you did.
Big. I mean, the show's amazing. It's incredible.
Big HBO show. On Friday, I interviewed a guy who is probably the smartest guy I've ever talked to, Dr. George Church. He's a professor at Harvard Medical School at MIT. He is widely considered the father of genomics, modern genomics. Helped sequence the human genome, helped develop CRISPR as a way to edit the human genome. We had a wide-ranging conversation, including talking about his plan to introduce mastodon DNA into elephants to make them cold-resistant, which I thought was fascinating.
That's really... Incredible.
But I am ashamed to say I did have to ask him, because the whole premise of The Last of Us is that the fungus quadriceps infects us.
Mm-hmm.
We lose our ability to fight it, and it's like zombies among us. So I asked Dr. Church, this was actually after the show, have you seen The Last of Us?
I haven't seen that movie. I'm sorry, TV show, but I've heard it. My daughter loves it.
Yeah,
it's on my wish list. But yeah, the cordyceps will force insects like ants to go up on a plant, and then once they get up there, they kind of freeze there, and then the fungus produces a fruiting body on the top of out of the head of the ant, and then the spores go everywhere. So it's kind of programmed this. Did they mention this in the show?
They so the premise, it's based on a video game, and the premise is that funguses are less of a problem because they can't survive human body heat, but that in the process of global warming, the funguses evolved to survive above 94 degrees, and all of a sudden they become a problem for humans, and we just don't really have any effective treatments for them.
Yeah.
And
it's not quite true. There are a lot of fungi that grow at a body temperature.
Oh, good.
In fact, there's a version, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which is the baker's and brewer's yeast, has a pretty close relative that will grow at body temperature, which is a opportunistic pathogen. And of course, they're fungi that infect immune compromised patients, like HIV patients. But the thing that's cool about cordyceps, I can't believe they passed this opportunity, is what it does to ants. I'll send you.
No, that's fascinating. It's almost like, parasites do that as well, right? They have life cycles that. Toxoplasma.
Right. Yeah. It influences behavior.
Right.
In fact, you could argue that a lot of pathogens influence behavior. Usually it's something trivial, like it causes you to cough.
Right.
Coughing is a really terrific way of spreading. Vomiting. Diarrhea. These are all terrific ways of spreading little baby pathogens.
Right.
But it's just that cordyceps does it in such a graphic. When you see one of these things crawling up the plant and then sitting there, and then this spore forming thing comes out of the top. It really is like Body Snatchers at the time,
I think really in a way the TV show shows that, because humans become infected and then fruit. And it's not.
Yeah, so I'll have to look it up. But they could have shown some actual footage of real
ants.
Of real ants infected with cordyceps.
That's a fascinating thing, because we don't think of funguses as, well, I guess they're alive, sort of, in a quasi.
Oh, they're definitely alive.
Yeah.
Even viruses could be argued are alive.
Right.
But they just viruses, like wolves, require very complicated living systems to survive.
Fungus do not.
No, they do.
They do.
Most of them do.
Oh, okay.
Fungus is unlike plants. So plants are the only things, photosynthetic organisms, the only things that really can grow on inorganic material, period. But almost everything else depends on some other organism to provide them with food, fungus included.
Interesting. The circle of life, quite an amazing thing, really. Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Church. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.
For the full interview with George Church, you can tune in Triangulation. It's weird. I have old radio and TV habits. You don't have to tune it in. You can download Triangulation. Just go to twit.tv/TRI. It'll be the most recent episode. It's also on our Twit events feeds, twit.tv/events, and you can watch it there. Now, we think, while we were talking to Dr. Church, I think we got this call thing working again. So let's try one more time. I see Dan has his hand raised. I'm going to push the button if I can find him on the... No, I don't see him. Oh, there he is. Okay, Dan has got his hand raised, sending him into the breakout room. Dan, welcome to Ask the Tech Guys.
Oh, that's a
welcome.
Cool shirt.
You're driving... Wait a minute. Whoa, look at that. Holy
I'm a
camole.
Formula One driver. I'm a Formula Porsche driver.
I love it. I love it.
It's a picture from the track.
Where are you calling? Where are you calling from?
Brookings, South Dakota.
All right.
Or as you pronounced it, as Kim Schaefer pronounced it, Brookings, South Dakota.
Brookings. Are you're either a rock and roll guitarist or a Formula One driver? Which is it?
I can't be both.
Oh yeah, you could be both. Yes, you could be both. It's
very
nice.
amateur.
Welcome.
Very amateur.
Welcome back. Good to talk to you. What's up?
Well, as a non-podcaster, I have a question for you. I know Mikah has said before that he uses Audible to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I use podcasts to go back to sleep in the morning, so I don't bother my lovely wife.
Aww.
I wake up at 5 in the morning or sometimes, and a lot of times, and I'll just slip my AirPods Pro in and go to town on a podcast. And I have since had, when I do go back to sleep, which is usually the goal, I have since had some semi-lucid dreams where I'm on a podcast. So I was wondering if you guys...
Is that why you have that? Is that a dream microphone in front of you? Because for somebody who doesn't have a podcast, you got a pretty good microphone.
I have a business that allows me to invest in whatever technology I want to. I spent the week
that's a good business.
Containerizing my back-end database, but
no kidding.
But anyway,
did you use Docker? What did you use for that?
Yeah, Docker. I spent the week learning Docker.
Fun. But
back to my original, I've since been a dream participant in MacBreak Weekly / film.
Did Annie Anako come sit on your bed and?
As it would happen, I was just so frustrated. I was like, I'm trying to think of something to. I have something to say now. Now, if he would just stop talking, I could say something. What's going on here?
It's not and a dream. It's real.
The last incarnation, I was at church, and you guys had rented a corner of the church for your podcast. And I was looking back there. I was like, Leo, quiet down. We're having church over here. Quiet down.
Leo doesn't quiet down. No.
Oh, that's funny.
I was wondering if
did Devendra Hardawar join you when you were falling asleep to Slash film?
Oh, that was one more time where I was just frustrated. I was like trying to think of something to say, and I was having
this is in the show. I love that.
I love this. So I know what your question is. Has this ever happened? And this is the fascinating thing about what you're talking about. So sleep scientists who have for a long time tried to determine which stages of sleep are most important to us. And we have determined that REM, rapid eye movement stage, which is the closest stage to actually being awake, is an incredibly important stage of sleep, but no one can say why. But one of the reasons why we think that it's the most important, or one of the most important, is because of the fact that our brain does what you're describing. Have you ever had a dream where you're like walking around and there's a cat that's making meow sounds, and then it turns out that it was actually your alarm that was going off in real life? That is because your brain is essentially protecting you from waking up. It is trying to keep you in rapid eye movement sleep instead of letting you actually wake up. And so for you to be listening to this podcast and suddenly be in the podcast, that is so that your brain goes, okay, this is something that's happening in real life, but I need you to stay asleep because for some reason REM sleep is so important. So I'm going to make it seem like this is part of what's happening in the dream. Yeah, and it does this just to keep you going in rapid eye movement sleep. So yes, to answer your question, this has happened to me with lots of audiobooks. I'll wake up later in the day and I was just hanging out with Harry Dresden from the Dresden Files because I was listening to that book before I fell asleep. And it's a really cool thing.
New meaning to a parasocial relationship.
I suppose it does.
We were sleeping together the other day, and so I would like to do that. I don't listen to podcasts. It's funny because thanks to our 8 Sleep, our sponsor 8 Sleep, when it's really cozy in the morning, and thanks also to my excellent schedule, thanks to my wife, I can just go back to sleep. Mm-hmm. So I do a lot more dreaming than I used to, because that is when you dream, isn't it?
Yes. So
that's when that REM happens, is because you're not going to get into deep sleep right away.
Yeah. So you go down stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, you come up stage 2, stage 1, and then your body makes the choice. Do I wake up or do I go into REM? A lot of people think REM is a deep sleep.
It's not.
It is above.
It's a light sleep.
It is the exact same thing as being awake without being awake.
I love dreaming.
Yeah,
I do.
And you need to, that's the thing, is you've got to get down and back up again before. If you wake up too soon, then you're not going to hit REM.
Is that what you were asking about, Dan? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I was just wondering if anybody else had experience like I'm sure I'm not the only one that uses headphones to fall back asleep, although it doesn't work like it used to. I used to just fall back asleep within 5 minutes, and now I just I listen for an hour sometimes.
Oh man. Yeah.
So now you got me really curious, Dan. What do you do for a living?
I train power linemen, but
you mean like I am a lineman for the county, that kind of lineman?
Exactly.
Oh.
Glenn Campbell was our spokesman. Yes.
Yeah. You climb the poles and you fix the wires up there.
That's cool.
My dad, who wrote the program back in 1983, he was a lineman from the time he was 15. And I wrote a database that ran our program in 1987 in fourth dimension that ran until 2012 when I rewrote it.
Who knew 4D would last that long? Wow.
Yeah, I know. I was not many of them did. But when I looked at the code 20 years later, I didn't even recognize it. I mean, it was.
I'm impressed that you can sleep with AirPods on because they protrude out, and I put my head on my pillow, and it's
I just
not
do
comfortable.
one. I do whatever.
And you just do one.
I do one.
There are headphones. Father Robert showed us a pair that are designed for sleeping. In fact, I have the Bose sleep headphones that have a kind of flat surface.
Yeah.
Their theory is that you could, but then I was very disappointed. So I should bring those in because I bought them, and then I found out you can't listen to podcasts or audiobooks on them. Really, they're designed
specially. Yeah.
They're special, which means you can't listen to music or anything. You can listen to the sounds that Bose provides, and that's it. And maybe that's because they're so thin, and they don't have
like a
more
Bluetooth
processing
chip or something,
I don't know what.
My original headphones were the Bose, and whenever I would click, because when you finish a podcast in Overcast, if you just click it one more time, it'll start the next one. So, but the Bose ones, when I clicked them, my wife would hear it and wake up. So I was always kind of trying to. But the AirPods Pro are perfect.
Well, Dan, until our next session in bed together, I
look forward to it.
I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks, Dan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the call.
Nice to talk to you. Be careful. You go up on the poles, or you just you say that one up there.
No, I'm a tech guy.
Yeah, good. You don't have to climb those things. We had a family friend. Her son was a friend of my son's. Mm-hmm. She was a lineman. Or a line woman, I guess you'd call it. And she had the strongest upper body because she would be climbing those poles. She was very impressive.
Wow.
Do you have sleep headphones that you wear?
I just wear an AirPod. The reason why I do actually have some, they're called sheep headphones, I think. I honestly can't remember. But I would get too warm because they wrap around your head like a headband, and then they've got these sort of loose piezo transducers in them. But it just was not good. And what I ended up going back to the AirPods Pro is because for some reason, since it's Apple to Apple, you can turn the volume down very, very, very low. And any third-party headphone, just using the standard Bluetooth profile, it doesn't let you turn it down that low. And I can't have it very loud in my ear. I just have a very quiet voice that's reading my book to me. Oh. And only AirPods or AirPods Pro have been able to get that quiet enough to do that.
Yeah, I got the headband.
Acoustic sheep. That's it. Thank you, Joe.
Acoustic sheep?
Yeah, acoustic sheep.
I had the headband. And you wear it low so that it goes over your ears.
Yeah. Yeah, I just got too warm because my ears get warm from it.
All right, I am going to see if we can get Arizona Neil on the horn here using the magic of technology that barely works. Hi, Neil.
Hey, Leo, how you doing?
I'm great. I'm guessing you're in Arizona.
I am. I have talked many times with you on the radio show. I've been a listener since at least 2011, if not sooner than that.
That's very gratifying because I was worried that when I stopped doing the radio show, we gave it to Rich Tamuro, that people wouldn't follow us to the podcast. And so,
well, as it happens.
Go ahead.
No, I didn't cut you off. I'm just going to say that.
I'm just glad you made it.
No,
that's all I was going to say.
No, I was just saying I found the last radio show, I guess it was after Christmas or whatever, and it said check back on January the 8th. There we go.
And here we are.
I found you.
Still some technical
follow you from day one.
Still some technical struggles. On the other hand, there's certain benefits to this. We can, you get to see video if you wish. You don't have to. We could see you, which is really great as far as I'm concerned. Where in Arizona are you?
Chandler.
So
right. just southeast of Phoenix.
So you haven't ridden those Waymos yet, have you?
Waymos?
Oh, driverless
no,
vehicles.
I know it. I had to think about it. Yes, I have not. I'm in the area and I'm willing to give it a try, but I have not actually had one. I actually don't drive. I may think about look at the electric bike.
Oh, you're gonna. For people of a certain age, you and me, bike. I always, as a kid, I biked like crazy. I love bicycling, but it's harder and harder on your knees and stuff. The electric bike brought it back into my life, and I just love. It's more fun than pedaling. It's so much fun. And then the problem is, I don't want to ride on the roads around here because too many people get creamed. So the fact that I could fold that one up, put it in my trunk, and go to some nice park with bike path is just a transformational. It's gotten me out and about much more than before. So I highly encourage you to do that. What's your question, Neil?
A couple of questions, really.
Okay.
I've been a long time listener, as I say, and I've taken many of your sponsors and recommendations to heart. So some have worked better than others.
Thank you.
So in other words, the helm was not the best idea. Let's be honest about it.
Oh, it's too bad. I feel bad. It was a good idea, but yeah, it's gone now. Yeah,
it just didn't work.
It was a mail server.
What I have done, but I did get Fastmail. I finally took the plunge and I just paid for my plan.
Good.
And that's working very well. I do like Fastmail.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what I ended up doing is I tried the helm and then I went back to Fastmail because I thought I'm going to let them do the hard part. And it was a great idea to kind of keep your privacy by running your own mail server, but it's just not an easy thing to do, unfortunately. And I think people kind of gave up on it. Good. I'm glad you went to Fastmail, and I think you'll be happy.
So I have Fastmail, and the only issue I had with it, not with Fastmail itself, but with getting over there was getting all of the contacts moved, all of the other email addresses. I've been a long-time listener, as I mentioned. So I've been on the internet since 1995. You and I are of the same age, just so you know. Both in November, as a matter of fact, 56.
I had a feeling, yeah.
So we are just, with a couple weeks apart. At any rate, we have been on long enough. But it's a real pain to move all of the contacts over. I was hoping there was either an app or some easy way to do it.
Yeah, there was.
Having to go.
So I'll tell you how I did it, because I did do that. I now use Fastmail, again, a sponsor, but we still like it. In fact, I've been plugging Fastmail since you've been listening in 2011. I moved both contacts and address book, and a calendar over to Fastmail. They host it just like Google would. So the trick was, for me, it was very easy. I just added Fastmail to my iPhone. Now, if you have an iPhone or an Android phone, you know that you can be syncing your calendars on the phone with Google or some other service. Well, Fastmail is one of the services that you can do that with. And then you don't have to do anything. You just let it sync. And once it's all synced up, and you can check by going to Fastmail and going into the contacts, now you know you've got all your contacts on Fastmail. And then, but only do it after you've made sure everything's transferred over, you can disconnect any other, like if you don't want to use Gmail anymore, which is what I did. I disconnected Gmail so that Google no longer has access to my phone numbers, my calendar, any of that stuff. So that was a very easy thing to do. It didn't require an export or an import. I still would recommend an export. It's always a good idea if you've got your contact list working. And us old timers, you probably have as many as I do. I have, I think, 1,900 contacts in my contact list. As soon as I don't want to lose them. So as soon as you got that looking like how you like it, even before maybe you go to Fastmail, make a backup copy. Almost any contact program, including the ones on Apple, Android, Windows, and Mac, will allow you to export into either a comma-separated values file, CSV file, or there's something called CardDAV, which is a standard, and if it supports that works too. That's the one that Fastmail's using. Same thing with your calendar. That's CalDAV. You can export those out, and then you have a backup. So and this happens sometimes with synchronization, you might get like a mess happen where you get duplicates things 5 times, or you might get 0. Suddenly you open up your contacts and say, I don't know anybody. So if you have a backup, that's a good idea. Save all those names and addresses you've accumulated, as I have over the years. So just do you use iPhone or Android or no phone?
iPhone. I'm all in on Apple, I guess. I have the iPhone, the iPad, the watch, and AirPods and so forth.
Me too, yeah. So, Mikah, it's just in the settings, right?
Yeah, exactly. Instead of, they'll have the links at the top that have the icons for the different services that are the main services, Gmail, etc. But then below that, you'll have those options for using a classic login for both card DAV and for the mail.
Yeah, definitely the easiest way to do it. You can export and import if you wish, but you don't have to. And the nice thing about synchronization is it's okay to have it on as many places as possible, right? We don't want to lose it. Do you know how many contacts? I'm just curious. Do you know how many contacts you have, Neil?
Maybe 250 or something like that. I don't have quite as many as yourself.
I
I've
guess
been around
maybe
a long time.
It's maybe my business, because I meet so many people, and as a journalist, I collect cards at conferences and things. So maybe that's why I have 1,900, ridiculous number.
That's a lot.
That's ridiculous.
Well, the other thing I was going to ask, if I could jump in here, is that I was thinking about moving. I have 1Password. I've been using that for years because I have all Apple stuff, and it works fine, but it is a little pricey. I was thinking of moving to Bitwarden, which I notice is a little more reasonable, but that scares me, and the idea of having to move how to move the 1Password information into a new password manager. Is there a good way to do that?
Same thing. Very easy. Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say.
In fact, we demonstrated, I think, on our very first show. Go back to that January 8th show. I think I did a demo, or maybe it was the next one.
It was one of the first
two. 15th.
Yeah,
it was one of the first couple, yeah.
It's a simple thing. I mean, any password manager that is, modern and is doing the right thing is going to give you the ability to leave it if you want to. And 1Password is one of those. You could do an easy search for export from 1Password. And in fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Bitwarden has a guide moving from 1Password to Bitwarden. It is a simple process of exporting the files and then moving them over. And if you're worried about if you use like one-time authorization codes, OTA codes, all of that can come over too, because essentially it's not, you typically scan a QR code, but what that QR code has is a specialized link or a specialized URL essentially that then gets translated into the proper code. So all of that can be moved over as well. The only thing that you may have a bit of an issue with is if you've got documents and images and those kinds of things stored in your 1Password account, you'll just need to look at how 1Password handles exporting those. And of course, my biggest advice is after you've done that export process, make sure you get rid of that unencrypted bit of information as quickly as possible, once you've moved it over. And honestly, if it were me, I'd hang on to that 1Password account for a little bit longer just to be safe, because you never know if something gets lost in the shuffle, and it's always worth kind of having that as a backup. But yeah, the process for any password manager that's worth its salt is going to be an easy transfer from one to the other.
Well, thank you so much. It's great to talk. I love the new format, by the way. This is a great show. It's a little more informal than the radio show was.
And
it's more relaxed. You can take your time with it.
You don't have 22 minutes worth of ads either during the show. Hey, one last question for you, or request for you, Neil.
Sure.
Hail a Waymo, one without a driver in it. Get your phone out and show us what it looks like to be riding in a taxi with no driver.
We would love that.
I'll see what I can do.
All right, Neil. A pleasure talking to you.
Nice talking with you.
Take care.
Likewise. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye now.
They thought I was crazy. They thought it was right out of my head.
I was wondering.
No driver on the top. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
What were you wondering?
I was wondering if we could take a break and then go to Ant after this. Does that work or no?
We could totally do that.
Okay.
How about that?
He's
producing me, kids. Just so you know, that's what it looks like when a talented producer wants you to do something. They ask nicely. Our show today, we're going to have Ant make the transition from Windows to Mac with a little help from our friends.
I get by with a little help from my
You don't want to make Ant angry.
No, you won't like him when he's angry.
Okay. He's such a gentle giant.
Yeah.
I've never seen him. Well, I've seen him maybe once angry. But we're going to try to make it an easy transition for him. Our show today brought to you by Fortra. You may say, well, I don't Fortra, but I know you know the name Help Systems. For 40 years, Help Systems has been known for helping organizations become more secure, more autonomous. Over the years, customers have told them it's gotten harder and harder to protect their data, but Help Systems is there, or has been there, to help you. Cyber threats, of course, are evolving. They're more powerful than ever before in an industry where the only constant is change. Adaptability is the best way to grow in the right direction. So Help Systems listened to their customers' concerns. They problem solved, and boy, did they deliver. They are a different company today. That's why Help Systems is now Fortra, your cybersecurity ally, designed specifically to answer those issues that their customers are coming to them with. Fortra, of course, continues that same people-first support and best-in-class portfolio that you know and love from Help Systems. But they are there in the modern times, too. And I think this is a more modern name to really kind of reflect what they are doing to protect you. Fortra transformed the industry by creating a stronger line of defense, and it all comes from a single provider, which makes it a lot easier to deal with. They work with the top 10 Fortune 500 banks in the world. Let me say that again, because that's pretty impressive. The top 10 Fortune 500 banks in the world to help keep them secure. Boy, if those banks trust Fortra, that says something, doesn't it? Their infrastructure also helps support nuclear power grids and other important utility services. This is so important. If you're in a company in infrastructure, you need to be secure, don't you? Fortra's key area of emphasis is where technology meets human beings, including securing infrastructure, securing data, security awareness, and operational support. They offer professional security services. You could bring in the pros from Dover to help you with your pen testing. They have security consulting services. They have social engineering services. They'll help you with red teaming exercises. You can get managed security services from Fortra, including managed detection and response, managed data loss prevention, and IBM security services. They're there to work with your IT and security team, or to be your IT and security team, depending on what your needs are. Throughout every step of your journey, Fortra's experts are determined to help increase security maturity while decreasing the operational burden that comes with it. And I can tell you as a business owner, and I bet you've experienced this too, it's harder and harder to put together a good security story for your business, to find the security professionals you need. Fortra is there to fill in the gaps. They understand we're all more powerful together. So they prioritize collaboration with customers throughout every step of your unique cybersecurity journey. It's important. Everybody has different needs. Everybody has different issues. For organizations, Fortra knows the road to creating a stronger, simpler future for cybersecurity begins with the daily commitment to listening to each individual concern and providing integrated, scalable solutions. You can check it all out. All the solutions, all the experts the Fortra family has to offer, including through the combined intel of Fortra's Agari and Fish Labs solution. See, yeah, you know those names. Fortra's quarterly threat trends and intelligence report. If you don't know that, you ought to. This valuable resource provides an analysis of the latest findings and insights into key trends shaping the threat landscape. It's always changing. You need a map. You need Fortra's quarterly threat trends and intelligence report. Fortra's approach, and this is really the most important thing, is different. In pursuit of a better future for cybersecurity, they're driven by the belief that nothing cannot be solved. There's nothing unsolvable. Fortra, F-O-R-T-R-A, positive change makers, and your relentless ally, providing peace of mind through every step of your security journey. Don't you think you'd like some help? Now's the time. Set yourself up for success. Just go to Fortra.com to check out one of their free trials or demos today. Here's to a stronger, simpler future for cybersecurity. Visit Fortra, Fortra.com to learn more. Fortra.com. We thank them so much for their support of Ask the Tech Guys. Now, time for you to be an ally, Mikah Sargent. Poor Aunt Pruitt. How many years has Aunt used Windows? His whole life, right? You've been a Windows guy. Aunt is going to show us some of the issues he had transitioning to Mac. Watch.
Hello, tech guys. I am Aunt Pruitt. I think you know who I am. I'm that guy that is the only person using Windows there at TWiT. Yeah, that's me. Also host of Hands On Photography. It's been a couple of weeks since I finally made the move from Windows to Mac OS. again, being the only person running Windows there at TWiT, I got to say, I've always found Apple hardware to be pretty badass. It just looks so good, and it seems to have all of the nice performance numbers, I've always thought Mac OS or OS X was pretty, I always thought it was smooth, but I could never really dive into the world of OS X or now Mac OS until recently. Why couldn't I dive into it? Well, there's a couple things. Two things, actually. First, Apple computers, they never had enough ports on them. And coming from a Windows environment, I needed multiple USB ports for my peripherals. You have your keyboard, you have your mouse, you have your webcam, you have your direct access storage, you have thumb drives, you have audio interfaces like this here, and so on. Now, you need more than 2 or 3 USB ports on a laptop. Clearly, at least I did. So that was one big thing. The second thing was the cost of Apple computers. They were always out of my budget. They just were. And then when it got to the point where they were in my budget, I still found the lack of ports, and I found the lack of upgradability being a non-starter. Now, if I wanted to install a new graphics card or something, I couldn't do it. Now, I know that wasn't a big thing on the Mac side, so let's take a look at another example. I wanted to install some RAM on my computer. Couldn't do it. You just couldn't do it. I wanted to put, an extra 32 gigs on myself. I couldn't do it. That was a problem. And I was always curious about the Mac Mini, that small form factor. It looks great. It looked like it had plenty of horsepower, if you will. But again, it never had any ports on it. I need more ports. Now, fast forward to today, actually just a couple of weeks ago, I got my hands on the new Mac Mini. When Apple announced the new Mac Mini, it not only brought up the next generation Apple Silicon, but it also put some more ports on this device. And honestly, it still wasn't quite enough for me, but I thought I could get closer to it being something that would work for me and in my price range if I went and found some type of dock to give me some extra I/O. And I did find a dock, which was discussed on This Week in Google. And for the most part, it's working okay. Now, with all of that said, if I were to go back in time and redo all of this again, I would look for, or maybe even create some type of primer that's based on going from Windows to Mac. Because right now, when I look out there for something that walks through the process of going from Windows to Mac, I get a whole lot of fanboy stuff. I don't want that. And it's just a whole lot of, how great it is to be on Mac from Windows, and I get that. People are going to be happy, but there's a couple of things that I've come across that just sort of bugged me, and I'm hoping that you, the tech guys, can help me out. So first, and there's 4 points. First is the notifications inside of Mac OS. Now, look here. I can't stand the notifications on iOS. Absolutely hate them. I think they're just not functional at all. So then when I get into Mac OS, it's pretty much the same thing. I hate them. And so I spent a lot of time just trying to turn notifications off for different apps and things like that. And stuff still pop up. And it just annoys me with all get out. So I need to find a way to get rid of notification because I just don't care. Secondly, app installation on Mac OS. Now on Windows, things are pretty straightforward. You get an MSI or EXE, you just click on it, boom, it runs, and it does its thing to install whatever app you're trying to install. On the Mac side, you get some type of zip file, or you get a DMG, or you get a zip that's in the DMG, and then you get you get a DMG that's in the zip. See, I'm already confused. And then you get the option to drag said file into the applications folder, or you have to double click the DMG to make it do the installation. So it was a little bit confusing at first, but it was no big deal. That's just some extra muscle memory that I need to try to figure out. And then there's the dock in Mac OS. The dock is quite useful. I guess it's useful enough for Microsoft to decide, hey, we want to put our stuff at the bottom, just like a Mac does too. So I like the dock, but I don't care for the fact that I can have this bit of an OCD moment and see that some applications or services are running when I know they're closed. Well, the windows are closed at least. I don't like the fact that if I click on a window, like, I don't know, so let's say I open up Spotify and I'm listening to some music and I'm done listening to Spotify, stop the music, close the window there for Spotify, look down at my dock, it's still down there running, okay, because that little white dot's there. Then I realized, oh yeah, you have to go to that top menu, hit file, quit, or whatever it is to stop whatever it is you're running. Yeah, that's an extra step, an extra bit of muscle memory, but what's the point of having that little red dot there in the window to close the window if it's not going to close the application? Or that's just my Windows brain coming through and battling here, because in Windows, if I close the window, it closes the app, it closes the service 95% of the time. Okay. But anyway, I look here. I know this sounds like I'm doing a bit of nitpicking, but yeah, I am actually. Lastly, point number 4, the file system of macOS. And this is probably the most important thing, the file system. So coming from Windows, I have a lot of external drives that were formatted in TFS. Oh boy, that's a problem when I plug it into this Mac. Why? Because I can read that data, but I can't write to those drives. That was a bit of a problem for me. So now I'm stuck figuring out, okay, fortunately I have backups of these drives. So I'm just going to wipe these drives and format them to work in a read-write aspect for macOS. But then there's the idea of what format do I choose? Do I choose the Mac OS Extended Journal, Mac OS Extended? Then there's the APFS, I believe that's what it's called, that just come out not too long ago from Apple. Or do I just use exFAT? I'm thinking I'll use exFAT because I still have a couple laptops that I use here from time to time. And I want to be able to still access those drives if I need to on a Windows device. So what are your thoughts on that? And then, oh yeah, that whole eject button, whatever inside of Finder, why is that even there now? I thought that, safely removing drives was a thing of the past, but anyway, I'm done. Again, lastly, let me just say I am quite happy with macOS. I am having a good time with this. It reminds me of my time with Ubuntu and GNOME, probably about 10 years ago when I played around with it in the house. I do enjoy having the additional desktops where I could switch through and work on things in another desktop virtually and just, keep up with my productivity. But yeah, there's just a couple things that just sort of nitpick and I'd like to address, such as snapping windows inside of a display. So if I want to work on one project on one side of the screen and compare it to the other side, I can, just a little nitpick stuff like that. But for the most part, this OS is so much better. I just grew tired of Windows being a crashing mess and having all of that hardware to still be a really, really bad experience from a performance standpoint. And, even if I just wanted to shut down the laptop, it took a whole lot of cooling just to shut it down. Really? Fans are going to ramp up just to shut down? That's stupid, Microsoft. Do better. Sounds like a daggum B57 taking off, 757 taking off. Anyway, so yeah, that's it. I just wanted to share that with you all, and hopefully you can address those couple of bullet points that I have. Thank you for all you do for our community here, and appreciate all the help. Take care, gents.
I appreciate you, Ant. That's great.
Yeah, this is great.
He has a really good point, and I think this is unfortunate that when you go to look at Mac information, it tends to be a lot of fanboys, right? And I think that is a problem. It's a problem everywhere, where you get people go, it's not a religious war,
right?
Saying, Windows, blah, blah, blah. And I don't blame Ant for being a little put off by that.
Yeah, especially because most of those stories are this clickable, I've used Windows for years and I'm making the change and you'll never. No, people just, this is a question I do get a lot is, I'm making the change. What are some of the things that I need to know? And what I appreciate about what you've done, Ant, is you've actually given us some sort of common questions that a person might have. And I think
now I use Mac, Windows, and Linux equally. So I think it's possible not to abandon any one or use, say, I'm going to be on Team Mac. You could just be on, Team PC or Team Smartphone. Maybe that's a better team to be on than any particular operating system, especially as time goes by.
Right.
Because they're getting closer and closer to each other. That is the biggest issue of incompatibility is file systems. And just real quickly to answer that question, you don't have to erase those NTFS drives. Please don't. You can add a driver to Macintosh to read and write NTFS. It can read them already. You probably noticed that. You can open them, but it won't write them. The most common choice is from Paragon Software. They've been making this for years. It is now, and one of the reasons I like it is M1 and M2 compatible. There's been a long time, there's been a program called Fuse that was open source and free, but I don't know if Fuse has been updated to M1 or M2 compatibility. Paragon's not expensive. You buy it once, and then you'll have it, forever. So if you have a lot of formatted drives, this is a problem for me too, because I work in all three environments, so I have multiple file formats. Mm-hmm. I would also suggest for stuff you'll only use with a Mac, because only Macs can read it, APFS is the right choice. That's the default choice. For instance, Time Machine works best with APFS. So if you're going to use Time Machine as your backup, have an APFS configured drive. But often, because I'm using thumb drives that I'm moving around, I'll use exFAT.
Same. Yeah.
That's kind of a standard format that everything can read, Linux, Mac, and Windows. It's not the greatest file format ever.
Right.
But file system, but at least it's compatible with everything. So format your USB thumb drives that you're going to move around, exFAT. Format the drives you're going to use with the Mac, only APFS. And when you need to read those NTFS drives, no need to erase them. Just use Paragon's NTFS driver. It's an easy thing to install on Mac, and then you'll be able to read and write them.
Beautiful. Starting at the top with notifications, I think one thing that will help make it easier for you is when a notification pops up for the first time, go ahead and make your choices then. At any time when a notification pops up, you can right-click on that notification, and you'll see the options for mute for 1 hour, mute for today, but there's also the turn off option. And so it will feel a little bit less unwieldy if you do it piece by piece as opposed to hopping in that notification page.
So I got to put in the work now.
Yes, put in the work now. So if you stay ready, you don't got to get ready.
Right? Can't you just run and do not disturb?
You can run and do not disturb.
That's what I do.
But then, yes, that's absolutely a possibility. But if you do that, there are times when a notification, because that's the thing, macOS uses that notification method as the way of communicating about everything. So sometimes it is just an app being annoying and you can right click and choose turn off. But what if it's about a specific application trying to let you know that something, there was an error? And if you have it on Do Not Disturb, then suddenly you might not see that error because it didn't pop up as a prompt. So there are
times... You kind of want those, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
so
running a backup and a backup fails or something
exactly.
like that.
And the idea of always having Do Not Disturb turns on, it kind of runs contrary. Do Not Disturb is supposed to be kind of a I use this sometimes kind of thing. So, but again, totally up to you. But yes, if you do it piece by piece, that will feel a little bit less of a struggle. And then you're also getting the opportunity at that point to make those choices. The fourth setting in there is notification preferences. And it will go directly to that app's notification preferences, so you can make those individual choices for that app. So you get the option to say, I don't ever want this to notify me at all, or I want it to do a specific kind of notification. I love the conversation about the second bullet, which was app installation, because yes, it is so different between Windows and Mac. And it's interesting because there are things that I like about Windows with this, and there are things that I like about Mac with this. I like Mac's method of, I just have this application. I don't need to do anything behind the scenes. I just put it in the applications folder, and that means it's ready.
I like that part too. And I also like the fact that it says, okay, now that we've done installing this, can you just drag this to the trash? And
yes, how it does that automatically.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
But everything doesn't do that.
Right. And so yes, there are a couple of, basically it's on the developer to make that work as it does. What on the Windows side, what I've always loved is uninstalling. On Windows, you go through this process and it removes a bunch of the stuff.
Yeah.
On the Mac, there are times where the way that you typically uninstall a program is you go into the applications folder, you right click on it, you delete it, or you just drag it to the trash. But there are still some files around in different places that may be part of that you lose.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so I like to use a third-party application to do the uninstall management.
Okay.
It's a program called Clean My Mac, and you, as a member of the club, can check out Hands on Mac, where I talk all about Clean My Mac. Because it used to be that program kind of got side-eye from people, but it's actually an excellent program that has some great tools in it. So speaking of that still, yes, most of the time it will have that go ahead and throw it in the trash option. The reason why some of them don't do that is because there may be that when you do a restart, there's more that the program needs to do that has to install behind the scenes, or other things where it's kind of got to play catch up a little bit later.
Right.
But then after that, going ahead and removing it is good. Now, moving to the dock. This is so funny to me because my partner actually came to me, and of course, it's my fault if Apple's stuff doesn't work, because I'm the person that
was your partner a Windows user before?
No, not really.
So why should they blame you for it?
Right. It's just because I know about Apple, so it's my fault.
You do a show on this. You should know.
For me going forward, just so you know.
Yeah.
As soon as
Lisa
something goes
blames
to crap,
me.
I'm blaming you.
If you're the tech person,
Lisa blames me. Yeah.
So
I made Lisa move from Windows, actually.
That's good.
I deserve the blame.
He hates that the Finder window or the Finder icon in the dock always shows that it's launched.
Right.
It doesn't matter. But anyway, so I get where you're coming from, right? It's just, but
that's I never noticed it. Now it's going to bug me.
No.
Thanks a lot.
No, not you too.
Yeah.
Now everybody's going to blame me for this. But outside of that, the other dots. So the reason why, and this is, you have to blame Spotify, actually.
Okay.
So you have to blame the individual app because depending on the type of app it is and what it expects from its user, that red button to close is either going to be a quit the app, which is why you've noticed that in some cases where it does go away, or not a quit the app. So here is my recommendation from you. Don't use your mouse for this.
Yeah.
If you want to quit an app,
Alt F4.
No,
F4,
No, wait a minute. Sorry. No.
Command Q.
It's a little easier to remember Command Q, isn't it, than Alt F4?
Yeah,
Okay.
Command quit is which, and I know you see me doing this. That's because
All
it's
the
my
time.
thumb and my middle finger.
I'll show you a quick one because I do the same thing. Is when you're Alt tabbing between apps, Alt tab Command Q, Alt tab Command Q, Alt tab Command Q. You can close those all with just a couple of keystrokes.
So I do think that's a muscle memory thing
Okay.
where you switch from using the menu at the top or the X button because, and so for example, I have TextEdit open right now. If I hit the X button, TextEdit's still going to stay alive because it's a text editing application. And Spotify's thinking you probably want to keep playing music in the background. You just want to make this window go away.
No, I know what I'm doing.
But
If
you
I
know
said
what you're
to close
doing,
it,
right?
Close.
Right. And that is how it should be, honestly. And again, that's up to the developer to make that choice. And some apps, they do whenever you close them. And that's the thing is, I that is a complaint of mine because there are some times where, no, I actually don't want you to close. I just want you to,
for
close out
Spotify,
this
you want
window.
to keep playing music in the background, right? That's why.
If I want to keep playing music in the background, I just minimize it.
Right. You use the yellow button to minimize it.
But you could also
there.
close the window.
I like to use, so it's Command Q to quit, and to make the window go away, Command H. I switch between those all throughout the day to
Q and H.
Yeah,
I
H
still
for
have
hide.
Alt F4 in my head from all my
Command
years
H.
of Windows.
Hide.
Yeah. I'm always doing Command Q and Command H, which
The funny
I think
thing
about
is,
hide.
almost all of these commands have analogs on the Windows side. Pretty much now, there's so little difference between operating systems. The single biggest difference between Mac and Windows is where the menu bar is. On Windows, every window has the menu
their
bar,
own.
so you know right where to look. On the Mac, you have to go look at the top of the window.
A little bit taller.
That's the biggest, frankly, that's the biggest difference between the two operating systems these days.
And that's how Ubuntu was too. It was the same thing. And I remember thinking,
Gotta get used
this
to
is just
that.
like Linux stuff.
Yeah, you just got to get used to that. The pop-ups is a bigger issue because there is, I think, a bug in Mac OS. I don't know if you've noticed this, Mikah, but a lot of people complained about it. It was a big problem in Ventura. It's a problem in Monterey. When you add, like the Google Updater is always giving me a pop-up. Background item added. I've got it on my screen. Background item added. Background. That annoys me. You can't turn that off.
No, this is
I think that's a bug.
It's absolutely a bug. They didn't intend for it to continue to pop up. You should be seeing it one time.
That's for security reasons. You want to know if somebody's installing something that's running in the background, but you don't want to be notified that every 5 seconds. Right. And many people put screenshots on Reddit of Google Updater, 5 or 6 going all the way down the screen. There's no reason for that. That's a bug, though, right?
Yes, it is. And in fact, I've seen multiple confirmations of that being a bug.
There's no fix.
Yeah, that will be fixed. But
How
it's
is
not something we
Apple
can
when
fix.
it comes to bug reports like that? Because on the Windows side of things, you have Patch Tuesday.
Right.
So,
Apple does it whenever they darn well feel
Yeah,
like
it's not as often. Yeah, you will not get it as often, which is unfortunate in comparison to what you'd be used to.
Okay.
But I also don't run into that many crashes since I do.
Right. So
but
there's
yeah,
that.
when it comes to this, that unfortunately is one where I wish there was a way to turn that off, or be able to say, okay, I've seen this one already, leave me alone. I have noticed it get a little better though.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one app at this point, which is Steam, that gives me that problem still, where it's popping up multiple times.
Steam is its own world, frankly. Steam drives me nuts.
Yes, and that's because it's not really running natively. It's messy.
Yeah.
I want to tell you that the Option/Alt key is going to be your best friend. You talked about snapping and with Windows. So the green button at the top, there are two modes. When you just hover over it, you'll see three options: enter full screen. There's also tile window to the left of the screen, or tile window to the right of the screen. Now, when you click that, this is a special mode where it takes up the left side of the screen, and then it asks you, what do you want to show on the right side?
Right.
And you can choose
That's what I want.
Let me I speak Windows. It's Snap.
Yeah. That's what I want.
But there's another mode. If you want that, where it's like it's its own workspace, that is what you do. But if you just want to have two windows side by side and you don't want them to be in like their own little workspace,
right,
hold down the Alt key first, and then there's an option that says move window to the left side of the screen.
Wait a minute, hold down the Option key.
Hold down the Option key, move over the green button, and then there's move window.
Okay.
And that's as opposed to tile window.
Okay.
So here's what I would do. There's good third-party choices for this. Rectangle's great. Everybody seems to be using Magnet, which is $8. Rectangle's free. Magnet is Windows Snap on steroids, and it makes it very easy. You just drag the title bar to where you want it to be,
right,
left, right, up, down, and it will just snap into that position, just like Windows Snap does.
That's what I want.
That's what you want. In fact, I'll tell you, maybe this started with me for the iPad, where I got used to full screen mode, but I run most programs full screen, and I use the Macintosh Workspaces, which is a 3-finger swipe on the trackpad, or to swipe between workspaces. And frankly, most of the time I'm working in full screen mode. But everybody's got their own style.
I like doing the workspaces too. I think it's like command and arrow left or right.
That's right.
Switch.
Control arrow left, right. Yeah. Actually, I have a question for you, Mikah. When you're using Emacs on the Mac, have you found that sometimes it sees the Option key as the meta key, and sometimes it sees the Command key as a meta key? And what do you do?
Honestly, when it's giving me that issue, I just pull out my Linux machine and use that instead.
I'm just teasing.
Well, I got it now. Well, speaking of text editing, text edit. I don't like the fact that when I go to fire up, it's making me name the file right out the gate. Just let me start typing, because I like to take quick notes.
Yeah,
and I'm used to just hitting Windows Notepad, because every now and then in the middle of the show I have to remember something and I just pull it up and stick it over there. I don't necessarily need to save it at the moment.
Yeah, this again is where, because I use TextEdit for this in this way too. Again, where keyboard shortcuts are going to be your friend. Command N for new, and then it'll just pop open a TextEdit document. You don't need to name it. I've got one right now that's not saved, it's not named or anything like that.
Command N, really? That's it?
Command N. For new.
Nice.
And then that'll let you do that.
I do have to put in a plug, because everybody who uses the Mac eventually will download and install BB Edit. There's a free version. You don't need to pay for it, and it will do exactly what you want. It's basically a place you can just dump text.
Okay.
So I think it's a little better than TextEdit. TextEdit can also, unfortunately, save plain text as rich text, and that's a problem. BB Edit is plain text.
I just want plain text.
Yeah, I always, anytime I start up a new Mac OS system, I always go in and change TextEdit's formatting so that it's plain text from the start. I have a few settings. So if you want to
use TextEdit in years.
Really, I use literally. I have a file every day for notes that I have.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I've got a whole system of notes that are just what I needed for that day.
Just because Sargent's organized, that's a shocker.
But yeah, again, that's the great thing too, I think, about Mac OS that maybe I don't see as much as I do on Windows, which is there seems to be more of an agreement on the best apps for different categories, where a lot of people who are, Mac power users, they're all like, oh yeah, we all use BB Edit.
Yeah, we all.
We all. You know what I mean? And so it can be a little bit easier. There's not so much of an abundance of choice, which leads to paralysis of choice, where you can zoom. Yes, let me try that again. Zone in on what you specifically want.
Although I have to say that the rectangle magnet is a really interesting discussion because some people swear by rectangle, which is free. Some people swear by magnet, which is simpler, but $8.
And also, Better Touch Tool can do a lot of that Windows stuff.
And if you have but you don't have a laptop, you're a Mac Mini user.
Yeah, I'm on a Mini.
Yeah, if you're stuck with a laptop with that horrible touch taskbar, that's Better Touch Tool's a must, and everybody agrees. That's another one everybody agrees on. It's just like just get that. That's what everybody uses.
I'm going to do one last shout out for something and a recommendation for you because I found it to be an inexpensive way to be able to try a bunch of different applications that have been beneficial to me. There's a company that makes an app subscription service for the Mac. It's called SetApp, SETAPP, and not a sponsor or anything like that. The reason why I'm talking about them is because genuinely it's been a way for me to try a bunch of great Mac OS apps that I now use regularly. And I can't remember exactly what the subscription cost is, but it's like less than $10 a month.
Okay.
And in doing so, many of the apps that I was using before I started using SetApp, and then many apps that I have now started using afterward have all been part of this library and catalog. So yeah, if you want a quick way to like nail it exactly how you want it, because they've got those window management apps, they've got all sorts of stuff. SetApp, yeah.
I'll look at that because I've also been curious about IRC clients, and our loyal chat room has given me
Textual.
Textual is the main one that popped up.
That's
right
what
now
I'm using right
Line
now.
Chat.
No, Textual. Just use Textual.
See, this is another one of those everybody
goes
zooms in on.
Textual.
That is one advantage of having a fan base, is there's a certain agreement. Read people like John Gruber, and you'll start to get the feeling for this culture that surrounds the cult of Mac. A number of people in the Discord are saying consider Obsidian for note-taking. That's a third-party app, which is quite good and cross-platform.
Obsidian was on Floss Weekly.
Yeah, they're really amazing. Yeah, but I have to say, Apple's Notes app is probably the single best free app on any operating system. It's really good, and it does some very surprising things.
Is this a thing that sort of looks like Google Keep?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It does everything Google Keep does pretty much. Stores it in iCloud. This is the real problem, in my opinion. Apple is really designed around getting you locked into an ecosystem, right?
As they should. That makes perfect
it's good
sense
for their business. It's not good for users.
Yeah, it's good.
So everything works better if you're all Apple, and if you are, then iCloud, you're going to want to pay for some iCloud storage because things like notes are stored in iCloud automatically. Your desktop and documents file by default is stored in iCloud. iCloud ends up being a very useful tool if you are Apple only. Actually, now you can use iCloud for Windows, so it's not completely restrictive, but it's not as good.
Fortunately, I don't think I'm ever going to an iPhone. I just don't like iOS.
Yeah.
The hardware is great on iPhones, but I just don't like iOS, so I'm probably never going to be full bore Apple ecosystem.
Yeah.
But I do like the computers, so.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is just kind of getting the fingers and brain used to different kind of things. Frankly, once you start using the Apple Finder, going back to Windows File Explorer will be a nightmare.
I've never really liked File Explorer. It was just there.
You learned it though, and you learn. And there's things with people who go to Windows go, "What do you mean? It's not really a folder. It's my documents is just a search,
a pointer.
It's a what are you talking about? And it's not clear, and it's very confusing. I'm not a fan of Microsoft's model for how they explore files. So I think you'll get used to Finder and probably not want to go back.
But as far as file systems, again, let's make sure we're clear. exFAT is probably my safest way.
To be cross-platform, but you wouldn't, on your Macintosh or external drives that are used exclusively with a Mac, use the APFS.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's actually a much better file. It's what we call a COW, a copy on write file system. And while Apple hasn't enabled all the features, all the things it's capable of, like snapshots, down the road, that is a very modern, even more modern than NTFS file system, and by far with an Apple preferable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, these were great questions too. Again, I'm sure there are going to be people out there.
They're universal.
Yes.
Everybody who starts using a Mac comes up with these basic kinds of questions. But what's really interesting, and I notice this as we help people like Ant and our partners and so forth, everybody has a little bit of a different way. There may be some commonality in what programs use, but you know, a lot of people keep a lot of icons on the desktop, for instance. That's where their kind of default recents file are.
A lot of people have a huge menu bar.
Or a dock that's massive.
Yeah.
I take everything out of the dock. I just take it all out except for the 4 things that I use all the time.
The dock is only for the things that I'm going to use all the time, which is pretty much Creative Cloud, DaVinci Resolve, stuff like that. I did have one more question about the menu bar at the top. I think there was a service that helps you clean that up. What was that service called?
It's called Bartender, and it is also part of SetApp. So if you did want to try it through that, you can.
Mostly that's for people with laptops that have a notch, so that your menu bar doesn't go into the notch.
Also, it's for people who just like a nice clean.
I don't use it on my desktop. I definitely use it.
I got
on
it
my
everywhere
laptop.
just because I like to have it all clean.
It does a great job.
It's a bunch of clutter on mine right now.
See, I like the clutter because that's information
running there. I don't necessarily see it running. I don't need to see backblazes running. You know, just
So this is the equivalent of the system on Windows of the taskbar
tray,
the system tray rather, and you know, on the system tray there's a place you can drag stuff so you don't see it. Bartender adds that feature, essentially. So you can see what you want to see, but you don't have to see anything you don't want to see. I think it's a pretty...
I think I can remember that name pretty easily.
One other thing, I don't know. So in Windows, it depends on if you got used to doing this. I think most power users on Windows get used to hitting the Windows key and typing the first few letters of what they want to run.
Yes, I did, and I have now learned to do Command Spacebar.
So you got Spotlight, which does the same basic thing.
Same thing. Works
there are Spotlight replacements that go even farther, and down the road I would suggest looking at either Alfred or the free open source Raycast, which will still Command Spacebar, or you can make it have Spotlight, Command Spacebar, and Control Spacebar for the third-party apps. But they add lots of features. For instance, I'm constantly searching for people's phone number. It'll let me do that. It'll let you add date.
What are phone numbers, Mr. Leo? What are those?
Yeah, you're right. I haven't searched for a phone number in a long time. Mostly addresses, I guess. And I don't know why I pasted in places and things like that. So there are definitely... the next level, but I'm glad you learned how to use Spotlight. That's on every Mac. In fact, Andy Anako doesn't install these third-party apps like Raycast or Alfred. He says because when I use another Mac, they won't be there.
Good point.
And just so being good at Command Space and just typing with Spotlight, I'm glad you found that because that's the single most useful.
I use it all the time. All the time. To
Excellent.
Find things.
Did we help you?
Yes, sir. Gentlemen, thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
I'm glad that this is now going to be out here in the airways and people can find it instead of looking at a bunch of fanboy stuff.
Wait a minute. That's a Windows laptop you've got.
Yeah, this is my Windows laptop that I will still use from time to time.
Oh, that's your MSI, baby.
Yes, it sounds like a jet taking off, but this is just for mobile stuff. But on my rig at home, I'm going to be using my Mac because I need that to be up to snuff and not crashing every 2 days.
My biggest complaint about Windows is just that Microsoft seems like they need more revenue, so they keep advertising stuff. They've just added to their, this was part of the new Moment 2, which is a feature update in Windows 11. So they turned what used to be just a little magnifying glass search into a search pill. And we now know why, because they've extended the search pill. Now it has a Bing logo in it. And Microsoft said in a press release, now Bing Chat's added to Windows, except it isn't. Because when you click that Bing button, it just opens Edge.
It just opens it up.
It's an ad for Edge. It's an ad for Edge. And try going to Chrome.com to download Chrome. Microsoft actually injects into the web page. No, you don't want to use Chrome.
That is goofy.
You don't want to use Chrome. And that bugs me, honestly. You don't need to do that, Microsoft. You make plenty of money.
I'm also not going to miss regedit. You know how many times I had to go in the registry to try to fix something that should have been working? I'm not going to miss that at all.
Instead of regedit, Apple does the much more sensible thing, which is it uses something called plist files. And as you start doing this, you'll get used to this. These plist files are plain text XML files.
Okay.
And they store all those settings, but there's not one massive hairball of a file. They're all over the system folder. It's probably a good idea. You're very technical to start browsing around. Don't change things yet, but looking around at what's in the system folder, the launch agents, the daemons. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there, and you can use BBEdit to open those files and take a look at them. There's some very interesting things. Oh dear, we've now invoked Lou MM.
Oh boy. Mr. TWiT himself.
Mr. Windows himself. He's joined us in the chat room, so we'll be nice.
Hey there, Lou.
We won't say anything bad about his company. Hey, everybody. Leo Laporte here. I am the founder and one of the hosts at the TWiT Podcast Network. I want to talk to you a little bit about what we do here at TWiT, because I think it's unique. And I think for anybody who is bringing a product or a service to a tech audience, you need to know about what we do here at TWiT. We've built an amazing audience of engaged, intelligent, affluent listeners who listen to us and trust us when we recommend a product. Our mission statement as TWiT is to build a highly engaged community of tech enthusiasts. Boy, already your ears should be perking up at that, because highly engaged is good for you. Tech enthusiasts, if that's who you're looking for, this is the place. We do it by offering them the knowledge they need to understand and use technology in today's world. And I hear from our audience all the time, part of that knowledge comes from our advertisers. We are very careful. We pick advertisers with great products, great services, with integrity, and introduce them to our audience with authenticity and genuine enthusiasm. And that makes our host-read ads different from anything else you can buy. We are literally bringing you to the attention of our audience and giving you a big, fat endorsement. We like to create partnerships with trusted brands who are in it for the long run, long-term partners that want to grow with us. And we have so many great success stories. Tim Broom, who founded IT Pro TV in 2013, started advertising with us on day one, has been with us ever since. He said, quote, "We would not be where we are today without the TWiT network." I think the proof is in the pudding. Advertisers like IT Pro TV and Audible that have been with us for more than 10 years, they stick around because their ads work. And honestly, isn't that why you're buying advertising? You get a lot with TWiT. We have a very full service attitude. We almost think of it as kind of artisanal advertising, boutique advertising. You'll get a full service continuity team. People who are on the phone with you, who are in touch with you, who support you with everything from copywriting to graphic design. So you are not alone in this. We embed our ads into the shows. They're not added later. They're part of the shows. In fact, often they're such a part of our shows that our other hosts will chime in on the ad saying, "Yeah, I love that." Or just the other day, one of our hosts said, "Man, I really got to buy that." That's an additional benefit to you because you're hearing people our audience trusts saying, "Yeah, that sounds great." We always over-deliver on impressions, so you know you're going to get the impressions you expect. The ads are unique every time. We don't pre-record them and roll them in. We are genuinely doing those ads in the middle of the show. We'll give you great onboarding services. Ad tech with pod sites, that's free for direct clients. Gives you a lot of reporting, gives you a great idea of how well your ads are working. You'll get courtesy commercials. You actually can take our ads and share them across social media and landing pages. That really extends the reach. There are other free goodies too, including mentions in our weekly newsletter that's sent to thousands of fans, engaged fans who really want to see this stuff. We give you bonus ads and social media promotion too. So if you want to be a long-term partner, introduce your product to a savvy, engaged tech audience. Visit twit.tv/advertise. Check out those testimonials. Mark McCrary is the CEO of Authentic. You probably know him, one of the biggest original podcast advertising companies. We've been with him for 16 years. Mark said the feedback from many advertisers over 16 years across a range of product categories, everything from razors to computers, is that if ads and podcasts are going to work for a brand, they're going to work on TWiT shows. I'm very proud of what we do because it's honest, it's got integrity, it's authentic, and it really is a great introduction to our audience of your brand. Our listeners are smart, they're engaged, they're tech savvy, they're dedicated to our network, and that's one of the reasons we only work with high integrity partners that we've personally and thoroughly vetted. I have absolute approval on everybody. If you've got a great product, I want to hear from you. Elevate your brand by reaching out today at advertise@twit.tv. Break out of the advertising norm. Grow your brand with host-read ads on twit.tv. Visit twit.tv/advertise for more details, or you can email us advertise@twit.tv if you're ready to launch your campaign now. I can't wait to see your product. So give us a ring. Let's take us. Thank you, Ant. Thank you so much.
Ant. Thank you.
Let's take another call from. We got a lot of hands raised. Should we do Louisville Paul on the line? I'm going to let you, John Ashley, bring up Louisville Paul.
Well, hello, it's Louisville Paul.
I should give you lessons on how you say Louisville.
Louisville Paul.
Louis is not Louis. Don't say Louis. I actually love Louisville. Best time of the year, of course, Scott, is May 1st for the Derby. But you don't go to the Derby. You go before the Derby and you have some Derby pie, which is the best pie known to man. Louisville Paul, unmute your microphone and welcome to Ask the Tech Guys.
I've unmuted.
Yay! And
Can you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear. Hi, Paul.
Yeah. I was unfortunately not. Before I get to the tech questions, I wanted to talk to you about your last radio show because I thought that would be a good time to ask you about your disc jockey days.
Ah, the good old days.
Yeah.
56 degrees in the city. It's a Wednesday afternoon, and now here's a little Neil Diamond song.
Great.
Sung Blue.
This band has been around since the late 60s, and they're still going strong. They never had any hits, but they were the only claim to fame was that they were a featured band on the cartoon The Simpsons. And
is this a trivia question?
Yeah.
Well, no, it's a question about your days in the radio.
Okay.
Did you ever, back in the time when you were listening to or playing music, were you aware of a group called NRBQ?
Oh, yes. Yes, NRBQ. Wait a minute. Don't tell me. Stands for, no, I'm thinking New Riders of the Purple Sage. It's NRPS. NRBQ stands for, I don't remember. But of course I know
New
NRBQ.
Rhythm and Blues Quartet.
That's it. New Rhythm and Blues Quartet.
Yeah.
Yes, of course I know
The reason
NRBQ.
I'm so interested, in them
They're
is
still
they
together?
originated. Yeah.
Wow.
They originated here in Louisville.
Yeah. Great
and
band. Great music.
The one remaining member, Terry Adams, is from Louisville.
I'll be darned. No, I'm very well aware of them. I don't know did they have any hits? I don't know if I would have.
No hit.
Yeah, I wouldn't have played any of their music.
They're known for being a bar band. You know,
Right.
that is, they in their. If you ever watched any videos of them, it's entertaining to watch the keyboard player, Terry Adams. He plays the piano like the drums.
Yeah.
It's really entertaining.
Yeah. I think I know them mostly from college radio where we did play NRBQ because we didn't care if you had a hit or not. And that's my style of music. I love that kind of music.
Great.
So, yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Thanks for
So
asking.
on to the tech questions
Yeah.
for both you and Mikah. I'll start with you, Leo. I'm having AT&T fiber installed this week.
Nice.
But I want to ask you about the router situation. I've got an Orbi router.
Okay.
And I've heard you and Lee and Steve talk a lot about the IoT devices.
Right.
Is there any way that when he sets this up for me that he can put me on a separate connection to my cameras?
So yeah, you want, and this is Steve's solution for this was called 3 dumb routers. I'm actually not a huge fan of Steve's solution, and nowadays there are better ways to do this. But the theory is these IoT devices like cameras, doorbells, plant watering sensors, on-off light switches are not super secure. They're often unupdatable. The firmware may become insecure. We've heard so many stories. So his thesis is, and I think he's absolutely right. In fact, I'm going to, in a second, show you somebody who agrees with Steve. But his thesis for this is if you want to use these, and he used as an example, he bought some no-name Chinese on-off switch. He said, well, I'm going to put this on my network. I have to because it's a IoT device, but I'm sure as heck not going to give it access to anything else in the network. So what he does is he creates something called a virtual LAN, a virtual local area network, that is separate from the network where your stuff is. So I do this. I have a Ubiquity system at home. I have a VLAN, I have an IoT LAN, and I have something I call Secure LAN. And Secure LAN is only phones, computers, things that I know are being kept up to date. I wouldn't even put a Windows XP on it. Stuff that I know is being kept up to date and secure. Because you don't want somebody to get into your network via a smart light bulb and then get access to your smart devices. There's a downside to doing this. First of all, many routers won't do it. I asked Steve about this Tuesday, actually. They won't do it. And for instance, a guest network isn't necessarily isolated. Plus, there's a disadvantage to doing this, which is you can now no longer control the light switch because it's on a different network, right? So in order to do this properly, you have to also write special firewall rules that say you can only have traffic outbound from the secure network into the insecure network and no inbound traffic from the insecure. And it gets very complicated. So as much as I love Steve, I think a lot of what he's proposing is not for the faint of heart and probably not doable with a company provided like the AT&T router, company provided router. Your Orbeez may be able to do it. There are now more and more consumer routers that can do it that have separate networks. I asked Steve about that, and sometimes a guest network is a better solution. But it's funny because this did come up this week because Steve was talking about, believe it or not, cybersecurity recommendations from the NSA.
Whoa.
The National Security Agency, our spy agency, which we know has all sorts of tools for breaking into our computers. Well, I guess that would make them experts in protecting your computers against others. They have kind of this weird dual purpose in life, both to protect us and to invade us. But one of the things they say in here is here it is, secure routing devices, keep them up to date. They say, do not use, your internet service provider may provide a modem or router as part of your service contract to maximize administrative control over routing and wireless features of your home. Consider using a personally owned routing device. So like your Orbeez that you control, it's more up to date. It's not a secondhand device. It is the case that in some cases you can't. The ISP won't let you. And some of this is because the ISP is doing bandwidth shaping using the router they provide you. So they actually can control how much bandwidth you have. They can do all sorts of stuff. And if you don't use their router, they don't have as much control over what you're doing. That may be something you want. So they do talk, and the NSA talks about not using the provided router. They say, this is also from the NSA, implement wireless network segmentation. This is what we were talking about. At a minimum, your wireless network should be segmented between your primary Wi-Fi, guest Wi-Fi, and IoT network. They don't really tell you how to do that. And it's not easy.
Do you think it's possible that they would say I won't be able to use my Orbeez router?
It is possible. It's unlikely. I think what AT&T will do, there's two devices that you need with fiber. You need a device that converts. It depends on also what they're providing you with. So if it's fiber to the curb, you're going to get fiber into the house. You're going to need a device that's converting the fiber into Ethernet. But it may not be fiber to the curb. It may be fiber to the head end going into your house via Ethernet. So it really is going to depend what they give you. But usually they need some sort of device that's the company device. It's the equivalent of a cable modem for the fiber. Then they're going to give you one device that does that and routing. What you want to do is do your own routing. So what you'll need to be able to do, first thing is ask them, what can I use? And most cable providers have a list of approved personal routers. So make sure that you're going to use a router that's compatible. And secondly, you're going to want to know how you can take the device they provided you and put that into bridge mode. Stop it from doing any routing, because what you don't want is them to route and then you to route. That's called double NAT. And I've heard
that's the way I have my current setup.
Yeah, it's doable. It's not ideal. So what you'd like to do is turn off routing on, and ideally on their device. If you can't turn it off on their device, then turn it off on your device.
When I try to log into my Orbeez router, I get this that says that this is insecure. Is there any way to get a secure connection to my router?
It says it's insecure because it's double natted? Or
I don't know. It's just whenever I try to get into my router, the address that they give me.
It's not doing HTTPS.
Whenever I click.
Go ahead.
That's your browser warning you. Don't worry about that. Ignore that. Usually what you do is you could say, I accept this certificate. It's fine. I'll take it. And then I
have one last question, Leo, before if you can have time to check with Mikah. When you have on this new system that's set up that you have, is there any way on your end to put a queue so that you would know where you are as far as someone that's going to be called on? So, like, for example, if I knew that I was halfway down.
We're barely able to pick you up. I know. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
But I mean,
like in the old days, Kim would pick you up and say, hey, you're going to be next. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this way I could know. For example,
you had to
if
sit
I was
on for
halfway
2
to
hours.
this.
I know.
Right.
Yeah. Right. I could go somewhere else, but
John Ashley, make it so.
Okay.
We're in the very earliest stages of this, and it's not.
Yeah, I thought that.
As you can see, it's not working very well.
With a phone number, that's maybe more of a possibility.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, it's working for me.
Yeah, I'm glad you got in. I'm sorry, and for everybody who's sitting on hold, there are people who are going to be sitting on hold who never get in.
Well, and I'm recovering from surgery, so it's no problem.
Okay. Yeah, I apologize. We got to find a better way. What we didn't want to do and really can't do is what the radio station does. They pay for a special kind of a line, a rollover line, and special hardware and phones and stuff. We have the hardware. I guess we could pay for the line. It's expensive. That would give us a rollover, and then we'd get phone calls. We thought it'd be better to have higher quality, which we do have, video on occasion, but we lose a lot of the features. And, one more thing. We didn't want to have a full-time call screener because maybe somebody like Ant could do that. I don't know.
What? Yeah.
We didn't want to spend
Suddenly
the money on a call screener. By the way, the good news is Kim is working with Rich DeMuro and still doing it. So, but yeah, we were trying to save money. I'm a cheapskate.
Not that.
Now, ask your questions of Mr.
Mikah. I have an Android phone and an iPhone, but my iPhone is an iPhone SE that I bought in December of 2016.
Okay.
I'm still able to get the 15 updates, but I'm wondering, am I going to get a notification from Apple that they're no longer going to be able to support that?
You're wondering about the end of life. So basically what will happen is you'll go to try to do the update, and then it will let you know at that point. So I assume, one of two things. Either you are going into the settings and you're choosing software update and you're getting those installations, or you're letting it happen automatically, and it kind of happens in the background. If it is happening...
Go ahead. What I do is I go to the general, and then I put software updates, and it says this is available. Beautiful. I have so little space that I have to do it on Windows, the iTunes.
Yes.
I have to do it because I don't have enough space, and I'm able to update it that way. But I was just wondering, you're saying that when I do that, when I check for updates, it'll say you can no longer get updates?
Yes, that is correct. So it's not as if it'll, tell you, hey, the next update is not going to be something that you're going to be able to use. And a part of that is because genuinely the developers who are working on the next version are trying to determine what phones can or can't support it as they're working through the process. And so it tends to happen that whenever Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference comes around and they announce the next version of the operating system, around about that time is when we get that information of, hey, here's what it is, and here's what phones it'll be compatible on. Is there a recommendation on, I don't really use the iPhone. I use the Android more. And I was wondering, to save a little money, could I get the new phone, get a refurbished iPhone SE? Is that a good choice? So,
since I don't really use the phone that much.
Right, but you're telling me you don't use it that much, but you're saying you do need to have both?
Yeah, it always comes in handy for something.
Okay.
And that I can't do on Android, or seems like they're always saying we sent you a text to your iPhone and we need that, something like that.
Well, here's what I'll say. I would continue to use the iPhone SE you have now And if you do need to make the upgrade at some point, then yes, the refurbished store is specifically from Apple is a great place to shop because you do get those warranties that come with it, and you do get some money.
Do you
off
just go to the Apple website? What is that?
Yeah, so you go to apple.com, and then typically at the bottom of the page, you'll find the refurbished store. In fact, what we'll do is we'll include a link in the show notes directly to the refurbished store for you.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. You're doing both great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And give my regards to NRBQ. Hey, if
they started here.
Yeah, Louisville.
They started here.
A lot of good things started in Louisville. I love Louisville. Hey, if you want to know or want to see that the NSA cybersecurity recommendations, Steve Gibson did make a shortcut for you. It's his Security Now shortcut of the week, which is grc.com. I'm sorry, grc.sc/912. But all of the NSA cybersecurity publications are also on GitHub, and it's NSA Cyber, NSACYBER.github.io, including their best practices for keeping your home network secure, which actually I didn't realize is 5 years old now. But I don't. After Steve and I went through it, I think it was all pretty accurate. So we would support it. The only issue I would have is some of this stuff is hard to do, and I worry because if you tell people, what you got to do is you got to get 3 routers, see, and it's just going to be too hard, and people aren't going to do it. So I like to make recommendations that are less difficult to achieve. I think even putting an IoT device on a guest network is good. Really, the best recommendation for IoT devices is buy them from big name manufacturers, although that won't protect you fully, as we learned from Wise.
Yeah.
Buy them from big name manufacturers, and then specifically what you want to look for is over-the-air updates. They need to be over-the-air updatable, because a manufacturer, if a security vulnerability is found, needs to be able to update it. And that's a really important feature, so always look for that. Eventually, you'll be able to say, I want HomeKit or I want Matter. There are standards for IoT security. Apple's HomeKit is probably the best example of this. If something has a HomeKit certification, you know that they're doing all the things Apple requires for them to be secure. You're much less likely to run into problems with it. Unfortunately, that stuff's much more expensive, and it's a lot cheaper just to go to Amazon and buy some no-name Chinese light switch.
But don't do it.
You can if you know how to do a VLAN and segment your network. There's the link. Thank you, Doug M. Also put that in our RRC chat room. Is that a more recent one? That's from 2023. Okay, so the one that I see on GitHub is the older one, and though there is an updated one from the NSA. I guess go to Steve's. I don't know if this is different than the 2018 one. Yeah, it's dated February 2023, so I guess it is more up to date. So go to Steve's shortcut then, grc.sc/912 if you want to read this. Hey, that wraps up another thrilling, gripping edition of Ask the Tech Guys. If you want to see the full George Church interview, twit.tv/twig. If you want to watch Mikah and Rosemary Orchard, the best darn show about iOS that exists, you should watch iOS Today every Tuesday morning, and we do it live, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern time, or just download it at twit.tv/iOS. Mikah also hosts Tech News Weekly. You had a great guest two great guests on Thursday. With Jason Howell. Mike McHugh from Flipboard was on talking about Mastodon.
That was great.
That was great. What else? Anything else you want to plug, Mikah?
No.
I got nothing.
I'm okay.
Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. Join us as we do this show live every Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1900 UTC. The live streams for all of our shows are at live.twit.tv. If you're watching live, you could chat with us live at irc.twit.tv. Or if you're a Club Twit member, bravo.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just to go to our Discord and chat there. It's always a lot of fun in the Discord there. After the fact on-demand shows available on our website, twit.tv. For this show, it's twit.tv/ATG. There is an Ask the Tech Guys YouTube channel. That's actually a great place to take a clip and share it. YouTube makes that pretty easy to do. Of course, you can always subscribe. In fact, that's our favorite way If you find a podcast player you like, subscribe, and that way you'll get it the minute it's available every week after our Sunday production. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Aunt Pruitt. That was fantastic. We will see you all next time on Ask the Tech Guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You want to hear about the latest news happening in the tech world from the people who write the articles, sometimes from the people who are actually making the news? Well, we got a show for you here at TWiT.tv. It's called Tech News Weekly. Me, Jason Howell, and my co-host Mikah Sargent, we talk with some amazing people each and every Thursday on Tech News Weekly, and we share a little bit of our own insights in each of us bringing a story of the week. That's at TWiT.tv/TNW. Subscribe right now.